Well, happy Monday, everybody. Ben and Woods, 97.3, The Fan. Hope you're having a good start to your day. The chat's a little quiet this morning. It's not filled with Dodger fans yet. My guess is that they're extremely, hungover from their celebration as they are on their way to the World Series. The Fall Classic will feature the New York Yankees and the Los Angeles Dodgers. And right now, Rob Manfred is smiling from ear to ear. It's exactly what you dream of if you're the commissioner, right? Like it doesn't get any better than that. We will talk about all of that. Some
Two
really
gutty little teams.
Yeah, gritty and gutty and
getting their shot.
And underdogs. Yeah, man. 2-1 seeds figure it out and make their way to the Fall Classic. I mean, I'm excited for it. I like things like that, but you summed it up this weekend with a tweet you sent. And it just really hit home, and it was really brilliant. Benjamin, let me introduce the show first. Paul Reindl is the executive producer, imaging director. Good morning, Paulie.
Hey, how are you?
Very well. Ben Higgins, your friendly neighborhood sports anchor, and you summed it up. You know which one I'm talking about. It said something to the effect of, this postseason was designed to extract as much pain from Padres fans as possible. He's absolutely right. I mean, everywhere you look, you're like, even the guys that served it up to the Dodgers, you're like, oh, he was a Padre. I mean, there's a million different little levels of pain. Juan Soto, of course, hitting the big.
Juan Soto coming through in a huge situation. Padres having a 2-1 lead over the Dodgers, of course, and losing to L.A. It's
crazy.
It has not been fun. Not at all.
It's crazy. I mean, look, objectively, there have been some really, really, really good games. Really good games. And some really, look, I mean, at the end of the day, you got to tip your hat to the Guardians, the Mets. They fought extremely, extremely hard. And I do want to talk about today, amongst us and with the listeners as well, is there something wrong with the baseball playoffs? Aesthetically, it's a weird thing to have a completely different game, right? It would be like the Knicks bullying their way to a championship appearance, right? And doing it with physicality, gritty rebounding, inside the paint. Then they get to the championship game and they're like, we have to start launching threes. Like, we have to completely change the way. Does that make sense? Like a passing team turns into a run-only team. Because in baseball, what it's come down to is attrition and battle of the bullpens, and starters are going an inning and a third, and you're like, hey, that's a good outing by that guy. It's weird. It's just it's like a different game in October.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. The baseball playoffs are the least like the regular season of the major sports.
I tend to agree.
A football playoff game is almost identical to a regular season game in that they're all critical. You're trying to win.
Yeah.
You're not really
1 of 17
changing strategies that much. I mean, maybe there's a little more aggression, or you gamble on a trick play, a little bit more. But for the most part, it's the same. Basketball is almost identically the same to a regular season game, other than players maybe try a little bit harder and stars play a little longer in the postseason.
Might be a little bit different.
Yeah.
You can't manage a bullpen on April 20th like it's Game 6 of the ALCS.
And that's what it leads me to. And again, I don't think there's anything. I think wrong is the wrong word. How do you build an effing team? If you're AJ Preller this morning and you're watching what's going on and you go, do I need more starters, or do I need more bullpen?
To be fair,
do I need they had probably the best one.
The Padres didn't go on their run until they bolstered their bullpen.
That's exactly right. But that's the run. When you get to October, objectively, it's a different. I mean, literally, you're going, hey, if they can get 9 outs from their starter tonight, that's a huge win.
I mean, you don't want to hear the correct answer. The correct answer is there wasn't anything wrong with the Padres.
Right.
If you played it out 10 times, they'd probably beat the Dodgers 5. Dodgers would beat them 5. You just, you only get one chance at it, and they happen not to win. They were good enough to beat the Dodgers. We saw that.
Sure.
It's not that the Dodgers outclassed them. They simply lost a best-of-5 series in 5 games because they didn't hit the last couple of games. There's nothing you really need to change. about the Padres to get them over the hump. There
You
was
know,
no
and
glaring
honestly-
there was no glaring weakness. There was no in some seasons you can say, all right, they ran out of pitching. They need more starting pitching. They need more bullpen. This year, you don't really say that. They had everything they needed. They just didn't come through. And now, they need another chance at it where they do come through in the postseason.
And I'm not necessarily even talking about just the Padres here and what you need to do. I'm talking about, and I know the Dodgers had injury. The Padres losing Musgrove was big and blah, 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 blah. That's just like a philosophical question. What would you like to see? Is there something you can do to make it more like the regular season? I don't know, because I don't like.
There is. I mean, they used to do it back in the 30s. The best way, if you want to make it the most like the regular season, the best team in the league makes the World Series. There are no playoffs, and then you make it like a best of 9, and you play 9 straight days, and you determine the champion.
No days
that way.
off.
No days off. 9-game World Series between the top team in the American League and the top team in the National League, and you'll get a more representative champion. It still won't be perfect, but it will be a lot closer to true baseball if you did it that way. You have to use all 5 of your starters because there's no days off. You have a longer series to really, tax your benches and make sure you have to use everybody. And that would be the regular season.
That's what the regular season
never
is.
Going back to anything like that. That's what they did in the 20s, but it's
the
never
other
going to
answer
happen.
is, again, never going to happen, but shorten the regular season to 120 games.
Yeah.
Make those games a little bit more important.
Yeah, because that's
1 out of 120 is a hell of a lot more important than 1 out of 162.
Yeah, that 60-game season, man. Every game was a playoff game.
It was like the NFL. I think we equated it. I remember it was every game was equivalent to what? 4 wins or something?
Yeah, it was crazy.
I do think there is a real challenge, though, to be able to put together a team that can both win in the long haul and then can step it up a little bit more with stars that can also lead you to a championship in the playoffs. That's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
The Dodgers, for many years, did really well and built for the long haul and fell absolutely on their faces when it came to the playoffs. This year, they finally kind of melded the two. And honestly, the real reason is, which is so often the reason in the playoffs, they've gotten insanely hot at the plate. And they're scoring an unbelievable number of runs. I mean, the Padres held them to about 5 runs per game, which seemed like
insane.
a lot. They scored 8 runs a game against the Mets. They scored 46 runs in a 6-game series. I don't care how many pitching injuries you have. You throw little leaguers out there, and you're going to win when you score that many runs in a 6-game series. It's just almost impossible to lose that many baseball games when you're scoring as much as the Dodgers are right now. And they didn't do that all season. They didn't score 8 runs a game in the regular season, but
we thought they would.
They are right now, and they have turned it on at just the perfect moment. They started a little, sluggishly, but then, Shohei's gotten his, Mookie's gotten his. Even without Freddie, they've gotten so many contributions from Edman, Muncy,
Edman's been
Will
amazing,
Smith, has had enough big home runs. Teoscar. I mean, they just have been productive all at the right time, all at the same time. And that is, now, doesn't mean they're going to do it in the World Series against the Yankees. We've seen teams that, like the Padres, like the Phillies last year, where you look like you're red hot, and then all of a sudden something happens, snap your fingers, and whoa, 1 run, 3 runs, 1 run. What happened to our offense? That's baseball for you.
Yeah, no doubt. And look, and I'm already seeing people in chat, they're boycotting. Feel free. I will not miss one pitch of this World Series unless I have to. Does one fall on Halloween, or did we figure that out? It's good.
I think we're off on Halloween.
We're off on Halloween. Good. Okay. How was the weekend, fellas? Other than that, I watched a lot of baseball. Did not get a chance to watch much football, as usual. Productive. Yeah. What did you do? You went down. You had caulk to buy.
We had
you went on a
Home Depot. We had IKEA.
Huge caulk hunt.
We had construction of IKEA equipment. We had Tier 1 Mel came and removed some junk from our house to make room for some of the new stuff that we got. I didn't do a ton of fun. We went and watched a little college football on Saturday, but for the most part, it was like a productive weekend, which you feel good about when you're done. Like, oh, I got a lot of stuff done this weekend. And then you realize I didn't play any golf. I didn't really do anything for me. And now you're going like, now we're starting the week again. And I missed out my chance to have a little fun.
I did a lot of coaching. I coached soccer on Saturday. I coached baseball yesterday. It was the sweetest thing, dude. We only had 6 players available to play soccer on Saturday. And, You need 7. You got 6 on the field and a goalkeeper. And we only had 6 guys. And so we had 1 guy in goal and 5 kids running around against a team with 13 subs, very well coached, very well organized. I don't have the foggiest idea what I'm doing out there with my guys.
Did they let you borrow a player?
No, they did not let us borrow a player.
All
You know
right.
what they did let us do? They let me carry a water bottle around on the field so I could run up and squirt water into my kids' mouths
That's
because
fun.
we did not have a sub the whole time. We played them to a 0-0 draw. And
Real soccer.
But after it was done, one of my kids, Connor, who's a
I
stud.
think you're supposed to say 0-0.
Oh, sorry, 0-0. God, I knew I was going to blow
A 0-0
something.
draw.
We were on the pitch. The kids were looking good. It was a 0-0 draw, clean sheet for everyone. But, bro, his kid walks up to me after. He's got tears in his eyes. He goes, "That was a terrible game." I go, "Buddy, you just played 14 kids." They were subbing because the kids are worn out. Bo and Cal, 2 of our best players, sick as dogs, coughing up lungs out there, grinding it out. It was actually impressive and very, very inspiring to see. So we had the 0-0 draw. Then we played baseball yesterday. We only had 6 players on base at our baseball team yesterday. Everyone's on fall break, so all the kids are gone, and it was rough. It was lean this weekend, but we got it done, man. It was really cool.
You also had an excursion at some point.
Julian. Went to Julian.
I know you went to Julian. I haven't heard anything about the trip to Julian, though.
You know what, man? I'm going to tell you.
This is Julian season right now.
It looked like when we started driving into Julian, my brother-in-law is a country singer, so he was playing a gig there. So we went up to see him, and he had a fiddle player, Melissa Barrison, who's one of the most talented human beings I've ever seen. She's just moved back to San Diego. If you ever get a chance to see her play with anyone, she's unbelievable. So we went up to watch them play, took the kids, met some tier 1s up there too, and I learned how to rope.
Like a lasso.
I did.
You learned how to do that.
There was a professional lassoer there. Yeah. And they had a thing with the horns.
Right.
It was a bale of hay.
A bale of hay.
With
Okay.
horns stuck in it. And my man taught me how to get the thing, start from behind like this, and roll the wrist. And I got it a few times. Whew, it was awesome.
Then it tightens around the horns.
Yank that thing back.
And then what happens?
Then you take it off and you try it again.
Well, yeah, in a bale of hay, but if it was a real steer, then what do you do?
Then I'd be like, I got it. Somebody come get it.
What do you do once you get it? I always wondered that.
If it was me,
lassoed it, yeah.
Like I said,
I
got one. Come get him. Come get him.
Wipe your hands.
That steer
My
is a
job
lot
here is
stronger than you.
finished.
I don't really want a big steer at the
Then
end
you
of
have to,
my
go
rope.
wrestle him.
Now what do I do?
It's kind of like when I used to catch fish when I was little. I'd catch it and be like, "Here you go. Somebody take it off." My uncle told me when I was little, he got the fin cut him, and he said, son of a. And, he's bleeding. I go, well, I'm not doing that. The fin, guild or fin or thing, I think they called it. So my whole life, when I was 6 or 7, I'd catch a fish and be like, "Here you go." And I just hold the rod and reel up so somebody would
Literally,
get
the hook every time ends up in my finger, whatever I'm trying to do when I was fishing.
So it was good, dude. The kid had a blast. The kids had a blast. They loved watching their Uncle G up there playing. Taylor's throwing the guitar on and now is singing random songs about his butt around the house. Don't look at my butt. And he's playing guitar. I know. I tried to get it last night, dude. He set up a microphone, the whole thing. So it was a lot of fun, dude. Good family night.
Any apple pie?
Had an apple crisp.
An apple crisp.
Which was, you know what? It was smaller and it was delicious and it was a little better.
Yeah.
The pie was, pie's so big, it's heavy. This is like a little crisp.
Much in favor of apple crisp.
How about apple strudel? That's
apple
really good,
strudel's
too.
delicious. But we went with the crisp. We had some good barbecue out there. It was really a fun family night.
Does anyone put a slice of cheddar cheese on their apple pie? I know that
grandmothers do, I think. A lot of
popular
choice.
But
it is a popular choice. But it was fun, man. It was good. It was a busy, now that I think about it, it's a very busy weekend.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Very busy.
Paulie, anything to report from your weekend?
More like your weekend minus IKEA.
Yeah.
Just getting things done around the house, cleaned out the car, cleaned up the garage a little bit.
That's good. You feel good.
Laundry, dishes, that just kind of reset the house a little bit. And then I watched a ton of football on Saturday and had Red Zone going all day yesterday.
Some good-ass games, man, this weekend. We'll talk about some of them.
Paulie also did some producing over the weekend, setting up pretty epic guest for us today. I will let you know about that.
Wait till you hear the story,
to set up the guest, yes. We will set the menu for our Monday program when we come back.
A little awkward.
So awkward.
Had a pretty good sports weekend, actually, between the baseball playoffs, college football, pro football, WNBA finals I watched a little bit last night as well. There was a lot going on this weekend. We will get into all of it coming up, starting by setting our menu. When we come back, Tier 1s, appreciate you joining us. We will come back after Kelly's Traffic with Ben Woods and Paul on a Monday morning on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Hamul Casino. Fun above all else. Hamul Casino. Fun above all else.
Is your generation, are you a millennial?
Yes.
Okay. He's the only millennial I know that actually, well, I don't know that he enjoys to talk on the phone, but he's forced to talk on the phone to me several times a day.
Yes.
Am I the only person you talk to on the phone?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I am Gen X.
Paul and I have talked on the phone maybe twice
in 7 years.
One of them was right before my girlfriend Megan picked me up to go to the hospital for emergency gallbladder surgery. It was like 11 o'clock at night.
I was dead asleep.
I knew you were asleep. I had called Adam because I'm like, I will not be there in the morning.
Hello.
Yeah, woke him up from his counting sheep. And then I was like, I should probably let Ben know since I know Woods is asleep. He's going to wake up and just think, what the hell is going on?
Is there any way you could tell your gallbladder to wait till 11 at least? I need a graphic.
Was
made.
I appropriately sympathetic when you called?
No,
or what
you've
was
never
I?
been
No.
appropriately sympathetic. Never once in your life.
I wish I recorded the phone call. My guess is it was something.
Sure.
Okay, who do we have tomorrow? Okay,
Go.
Eric Edelson. Okay,
Go. All right, see you later. All right, good luck. Yeah. Sure.
But then we handled it. We were fine. That's
we're fine.
Yeah.
That's how I do it. All right.
But Paulie had to do something that probably made him very uncomfortable yesterday. I love it. It's the best part of this story.
It wasn't uncomfortable until it was extremely uncomfortable. So we had talked about last week, hey, let's try and book John Sterling on the show.
Sweet angel.
Let's see what happens.
Legendary voice of the Yankees, retired earlier this year, unretired for the playoffs,
What a
and now
move.
gonna call some
For
World
as long
Series
as it lasts,
games.
yeah. Now he's calling a World Series game.
So brilliant.
So we had talked about having him on. We're like, well, that series is still going. Like, let's wait, and it should be over by this weekend. Let's wait and see. Like, if they make it to the World Series, then it's a no-brainer. We'll put the ask in. Saturday night happens. Yankees win the American League. They're in the World Series. So yesterday it was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I was working on the car, and I thought I should reach out to John Sterling. Now it's 4 because I figured they were in Cleveland, so probably late night celebrating. Probably didn't get in until the wee hours of the morning on Sunday. I was like, it's like 4:30 now on the East Coast. I'll give him a call. Because I remember when we booked him about 5 years ago, I was told, he's not a texter. How old is John Sterling?
82 or something.
Yeah, he's in his early 80s. Yeah.
He's not a texter. Give him a call. He pushes everything to voicemail.
Yeah.
And then he'll call you back.
If he wants to.
Leave a voicemail, and then he'll call you back if by chance you're lucky enough for him to accept the interview.
Correct. Which is rad, by the way, that he doesn't have some handler he goes through. Call him. Leave him a voicemail. If he wants to call you back, he will.
Yes. And so I go, okay. So I give him a call. It rings one time, and I hear, hello.
Yep.
Yes.
And I go,
yes.
I totally freeze.
Bro.
Totally freeze. I go, hi, John, this is Paul Reindl with 97.3 The Fan in San Diego.
You start listing your entire resume. Hi, this is Paul Reindl. I'm the executive producer of Ben & Woods, 97.3 The Fan in San Diego. We're a morning show that talks to pot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we haven't had him on. We had him on once in 6 years.
You just
7
start
years.
vomiting your resume at him.
If it's Eno Saris that I need to call, it's,
what's up,
hey,
dude?
Eno, it's Paul. You know what I mean? Whatever. Not a big deal.
Bro. Him answering, you must...
I was not expecting him to answer, and it kind of threw me off.
Of course. I would have died. I would have hung up.
Especially especially those pipes on the other end.
Yellow. Just yellow.
So
incredible.
I just said, hey, John, you don't remember me, but we had you on our show, years ago. Wanted to see if you might be interested in us giving you a call tomorrow morning. And he was like, at first he was like, who are you? Like,
oh God!
who is this?
Oh God!
You guys are a radio show, and I'm like, yeah, we're on the Padres, flagship station. He goes, okay, yeah, just give me a call. I'll be around.
Oh,
He
God.
goes,
Oh, no.
You know, we didn't get in until about 5 a.m. this morning. I just woke up about an hour ago to watch some of the football, and
What a sweet angel he
so
is.
he's locked in. 8:35 this morning.
It reminds me of when we were in 6th, 7th, 8th grade, and you'd call a girl for the first time, and she would answer, and you go, and you'd hang up the phone. This
Or
before,
even worse, like her dad would answer.
Her dad
and
would
you'd have
answer.
to, like,
Hello,
is,
can I speak to
Susie
Did you
on-
guys-
is Susie home?
Yeah, I was gonna say, did you guys call a lot of girls that had their own lines?
Yes, the private line was a huge
Wasn't
thing.
quite a thing for my age.
Yeah, you guys had
because
cell phones.
We all got cell phones in
Correct.
like middle school to high school.
Changed the
Changed
game
the whole game.
But I
you
did-
could text,
you-
hey, what's up?
You would just call the house phone. They didn't have their own line. You would call the house phone,
Yeah.
and then their dad would answer. You're like, oh my god.
Wesley says Gen X are seen as cynics. Yeah, Wesley, because we had to work for everything. Like
had to walk to school uphill both
with
ways.
the opposite sex, we had to work, and I mean work. There was no, hey, sup, girl, what you up to? It was, hello, hey, it's Steve. Yes, from chemistry. How's it going? Do you think we have chemistry? Like, it was the worst walking up to girls in a bar. Hey, how you doing? I mean, there was no
Did it
Tinder.
hurt
There was
when
no,
you fell from heaven?
we had to work our tails off to get, a girlfriend or any attention whatsoever. So, yeah, we're cynical, 100%.
Now you had it easy though. Now as a producer, it's with texting. It's much easier and less risky to book guests because you'll send texts. No, they don't reply. It's the end of it. When I started, we used to have these books that they would send out. The MLB,
still
NBA, NFL. They still send them out, and they would list the road team hotel where they'd stay.
Yeah, terrible.
And then you'd have to go and, okay, let's see. The Yankees are on the road here in Cleveland, so they're staying at this hotel. So you call up, and then you start asking for, is John Sterling's room? Is so-and-so's room? And then you have them ring up, and hopefully they're sitting in their hotel room.
Hello?
And you answer, and
What?
then you go, hey, I'm calling from a radio station in San Diego. We're wondering if our show's on the air right now. Do you have a few minutes to join us?
You would hit them in the show.
Of course. Yeah, during the show.
and
'cause
your
that's-
hosts are looking at you going, anybody?
because
anything?
they didn't have cell phones, so there's no way to get them outside. The only time to get them would be if they're actually sitting in their hotel room, pick up the landline in their hotel room, and put them on the air right then,
What
that
a night-
moment.
what a
Oh, it
nightmare.
was a nightmare.
What a nightmare. Well, I'm excited that John Sterling is going to be joining us. Dodger fans are up. They're awake finally, and they are in our chat. So keep it coming, guys. Give us some likes. And I guess we're I guess we're the only place that talks about Dodger baseball. Lakers season starts, tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. They're done. They probably won't even mention, they're not even going to mention the Dodgers.
Yeah, it's
Rams
kind of
beat the
inconvenient.
Raiders.
Rams beat the Raiders. I mean, this is big. This is
Chargers
big.
Monday Night Football tonight.
Yep.
We got all the LA sports talk that you want. No, we'll talk about the championship series wrapping up coming up in our next segment. Get to some of the football weekend as well. Padres have a Zoom news conference. We wondered when it was going to happen. It is going to happen. AJ Preller is going to wrap up the season at 11 this morning. We are going to carry it live here on 97.3 The Fan, but we can preview a little bit. We got some projections on payroll numbers over the weekend from the UT. We can talk about where the Padres stand and what options they have and don't have going into this offseason in 2025. We'll do that in our 7 o'clock hour. John Sterling at 8:35, Rondo Report, and then get you ready. Annie and Elston taking over at 10 o'clock, including that live news conference with A.J. Preller during their show at 11 this morning. So that's what's on tap, at least before noon today. Hopefully you'll stick with us, and we'll get into, really, starting with Friday.
Oh,
What an unbelievable game on Friday night to start the weekend between the Yankees and the Guardians. Just amazing, amazing stuff. We'll talk about it all coming up with Ben Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Yeah, I see the fans out there, raising the questions. It's very suspicious that the Dodgers and the Yankees are meeting in the World Series because, of course, this is ideal for Rob Manfred in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
Got both coasts represented, the two biggest markets.
Which is way better, by the way, than I mean, it's not better because we don't like the Dodgers, but if you're Rob Manfred, the Subway Series, okay, great. But you want the East Coast versus West Coast. I mean, you got the
you want
thing.
both coasts represented.
Yeah.
You've got the maximum possible television viewership. Yeah, I mean, this is, if you could hand pick a World Series, and I don't think Rob Manfred would even lie about it, but he'd say, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
He would pick Dodgers versus Yankees.
No
so
question.
I understand everyone's skepticism. At the same time, that it's the team with the most wins in the National League against the team with the most wins in the American League.
Yeah.
The one seeds meeting. I mean,
correct.
We've gotten so used to baseball not having that happen that all of a sudden when it actually does happen, we're all very suspicious. Like, how could possibly the best team in the National League meet the best team in the American League in the World Series? Something fishy
Something's
must
amiss.
be going on. These two teams that spend more money than just about every other team in baseball, except for the Mets, who are the other team in the National League Championship Series. How on earth could they get to this point? It makes no sense logically that these two teams would meet. Of course, it makes perfect sense that these two teams are the ones that are left. It's just baseball rarely makes so much sense. So when it does, we're all, have our spidey senses tingling that something must be amiss here in the playoffs in 2024.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a two managers that have busted the narrative, right? I mean, Dave Roberts and Aaron Boone kind of busted the narrative of the most resources, the best players, the biggest superstars. But when you get to October, you both choke. I think they've both managed pretty great, pretty brilliantly. That being said, it definitely helps when you have the players of their caliber. And, you see a lot of discourse on social media when things like this happen, Benny. And I saw Guardians fans, man, they were going through it. And I am sympathetic to them because it sucks to get that close. We absolutely know. Couple things go the other way. A manager makes a different decision, like don't pitch to Giancarlo Stanton ever with a base open, ever. Stephen Vogt still managed a really, really great season. You have nothing to be upset about, but I did see the constant, of course, the teams with the most money. I mean, I'm never going to fault a team for going out and spending money on their team, and the fact of the matter is, Their owner is a very wealthy man, and I mean a very wealthy man. He's, in fact, wealthier than the Yankees owner by a good amount. Spend the money on your team. You just banked money in the playoffs. You just made a ton of money in the playoffs. Invest that money in the Guardians. Give that fan base and that city something to root for. And there's players out there that you could go get. Go get them. Go get them. Level the playing field.
This would be the offseason to do it now, now that you've had that run. I do think, even though the ALCS was decided in 5 and the NLCS went 6, the Guardians actually were much closer,
far superior,
to taking down the Yankees than the Mets ever were to taking down the Dodgers. We'll talk about it right after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by California Coast Credit Union. Well, guys, it's always nice while it lasts, but now we've got a problem in the North County. Tow truck is rolling up to help out with this collision involving a couple vehicles eastbound 78, right around San Marcos Boulevard. Everything is in the center divide. Get 9.5% APY rate on a 5-month certificate for a limited time at Cal Coast Credit Union as we celebrate 95 years in the community. $500 minimum balance. Restrictions apply. Insured by NCUA. Visit calcoastcu.org/celebrate. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben & Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
It was going to be almost impossible for the Yankees and Guardians to top what happened on Thursday night.
Yeah.
The incredible back and forth, one of the greatest postseason games ever. But, boy, they put on a good show on both Friday and Saturday in the ALCS in Cleveland. Friday's game, the Yankees bounced back from that loss, did what they did, got home runs from Juan Soto, Austin Wells, and another Giancarlo Stanton blast, built a 6-2 lead, and you're thinking, all right, they're putting it away now. And then all of a sudden, Cleveland rallied back with 3 in the 7th, then 1 in the 8th to tie the game, and you think, oh, man, the Guardians now have all the momentum. They're at home. The fans are going nuts. They're going to win this game. They're going to tie the series, and all of a sudden you're going to think they can really do this. But it's baseball, and the Yankees scored twice in the 9th, did it again. Little error by Rocchio, the Gold Glove finalist at shortstop.
Had a couple, that were...
Yeah, there was a couple of misplays in the series, and that helped out, and the Yankees score 2, end up pulling out that 8-6 win, so they're up 3-1 at the series at that point.
How about Mark Leiter Jr., by the way? Added to the roster. Ian Hamilton, I think, hurt his calf. And so they add Mark Leiter Jr. Dude, he comes in this huge, huge situation. He's up there flipping curveballs, and they didn't want to go to Luke Weaver again to close the game out, so they go to Tommy Kahnle, comes in, he throws 18 straight changeups and gets the job done. But, man, you just can't say enough about how both of those teams, I mean, you really felt the Yanks were just going to kind of roll through it. And the Guardians said, no, man, some of the best baseball I've seen. I mean, it was brilliant.
And how about Tim Hill coming through in the bullpen for the Yankees, a guy who was DFA'd by the White Sox.
The White Sox DFA'd him.
Earlier in the season, picked up by the Yankees, needed an arm, and now is pitching important big innings for them in the postseason, including on Saturday, and that was another terrific game. So the Guardians, with their season on the line, they build that 2-0 lead. They're holding on to it with Tanner Bybee on the mound, and they get to the 6th inning, and Giancarlo Stanton comes up as the tying run. And at this point, he's burned you every single time. He has hit, at that point, I believe, 15 career postseason home runs in 35 games.
Insane.
Are you really going to let him go for number 16 and 36? They did. He did. That tied the game, and, the bullpen for the Yankees, including Tim Hill, 5 1/3 shutout innings, goes all the way to the 10th when the Yankees get 2 runners on against Hunter Gaddis, and Juan Soto comes up with 2 outs and puts together one of the better at-bats you're ever going to see. Just absolutely, fouls off 4 straight pitches.
I think I got it here.
Stays alive.
Who was on the bump again?
Gaddis.
Gaddis.
And
I thought I bookmarked it.
And you talked about it. We were talking about it before the show. You could see him kind of nodding and sizing him up. And Juan Soto said after the game, I knew I had this guy. I was on this guy.
I was on him, yeah.
Just give me enough chances. I'm going to get it. And it's the 3-run home run that ends up being the difference.
Swung on a high fly to center. Back goes Thomas on the track. He's at the wall, and she's gone. A 3-run home run. The Yankee bench comes on the field. Wow, what a Soto photo. A long, high fly to deep right center and out. He's wonderful. Marvelous. A 3-run blast by Soto with 2 outs here in the 10th. And the Yankees now take a 5-2 lead, and they're 3 outs away from going to the World Series.
It's a very understated call from John Sterling there, but yeah, I think he went.
It was so high. I mean, you didn't know.
Yeah.
I think if it was going to go out or not, just because he hit it 37 degrees on the launch angle.
Juan knew it. Yeah,
Juan knew.
He sure knew.
Bro, that AB
It's textbook.
fouling off sliders down and in, fouling off change-ups, fouling off everything you needed to foul off, and then he gets that heater up in the zone and just doesn't miss it. And again, and I certainly you get the sense from the Padres' perspective, like, yeah, we had to trade him. I mean, he's going to make. The guy turned down $440 million, and everyone laughed at him. And now he's like, really? I mean, that swing right there, his series that he had, and we'll see what he does in the World Series, certainly, but I like his chances to have a pretty decent series against the Dodgers
I texted
pitching
my buddy
staff.
who's a Yankees fan, and he goes, yeah, they're probably going to offer him $675 million, and I'm here for it.
Yeah,
It's
my
like-
dad said the same thing. He's like, you got to pay him whatever he wants. You have to pay him. You can't let him go.
Yeah, you wouldn't think that one home run should make that big of a difference. He was already the player he was. Nothing really changed on that home run, but it does increase the pressure from the fan base to not let him get away, especially if he leads them to a World Series title. And that does increase the price tag quite a bit when a Yankee fan base is going, you can't let this guy get away at this
He's 25
point.
years old, man.
And
he's 25.
Scott Boras will use that and, to maximum effect here in this free agency period. So, I mean, Yankees win their, 41st AL pennant.
Yep.
And they will be looking for their 28th World Series title. And you know what? It's fine. It's like, well, no one's ever going to catch him anyway. Might as well just let him win one more.
Let him get to 28.
It's what allows me to cheer for the Yankees without any reservation.
Yeah, zero.
It's not that fun to cheer for the Yankees because they are the Yankees, but in the big scheme of things,
it was pretty fun growing up cheering for the Yankees.
Well, I'm sure
not
it
going
was
to
for
deny.
you.
It was actually.
But as a non-Yankees fan, it's not a team that I would. You never cheer for the big bad bullies who have the most titles. You just don't. No one cheers for the Lakers unless they're a Lakers fan. I get that.
Yep.
But in this case, it's like, what's one more? Just go ahead. Just add to the title.
Yeah, in this case specifically, yes, of course.
Throw it on the pile with the rest of the World Series titles. It's going to make it very easy for me to cheer for the Yankees in this series.
Yeah.
And I like Juan Soto. I saw Padres fans going, wish he had done that for us. He did.
He did.
In the National League Championship Series.
Sure
he had a
did.
huge home run against the Phillies in that series.
Yeah.
He didn't get enough help from the rest of the team.
That's right.
And it wasn't Juan Soto's fault that the Padres didn't get to the World Series. Didn't have a Giancarlo Stanton helping him out, on an unbelievable run in that postseason. The bullpen did not come through as well as it did for the Yankees. It wasn't Juan Soto's fault that the Padres didn't
you
get
add postseason Giancarlo to that 2022 Padres lineup.
Yeah.
And things are a little bit different.
I could not. He is one of my top 5 baseball players, Giancarlo Stanton. I mean, just much maligned during the regular season. Just kind of banged up, battered. Gets to October and just rises to the occasion every single time. Is a very quiet dude, very humble guy. It's kind of the antithesis of the modern baseball player and the feared slugger, all of it. I love him. I mean, I just adore that guy, and it's hard not to root for Aaron Judge. The rest of the crew, though, other than Timmy Hill, I can't really stand many of the guys on the team, and so it's a weird spot. I'm rooting for my pops. My pops was obviously very happy, and Tim Hill, and I love Giancarlo. And, of course, I'm rooting against the Dodgers, so that goes without saying.
Meanwhile, the Mets did on Friday night. I thought it would be over on Friday, but it came out quickly against Jack Flaherty. Pete Alonso hit the 3-run home run. A lot of offense as they ended up scoring 12 runs. Dave Roberts did some after-the-fact excuse-making for Jack Flaherty, announcing the next day he was actually under the weather, sick. Mets got some contributions from guys that they hadn't before. Starling Marte had 4 hits, 3 RBI. Jesse Winker went back to the lineup 2 for 3 with 3 runs. Even in a losing cause, though, the Dodgers continued to hit. 2 home runs for Andy Pages.
Yeah.
Mookie Betts hit a home run. I mean, 6 runs. Yeah, they gave up 12 that day, but the hitting never really
stopped
for the Dodgers in this series. They had the one game where they didn't, but that's about it.
What they said last night was the first lead change
of the whole series. Yeah, when the Mets got up 1-0 last night, and the Dodgers went ahead.
2-1. Yeah.
2-1 in the bottom of the first was the first actual lead change of the series.
Yeah, man, that series was it was. I mean, if you like offense and everything else, but it was you got the 2 teams that you wanted if you're the commissioner. Certainly. I wonder how the ratings will do in San Diego. I do, but I will be watching. I cannot wait. I cannot wait for the World Series. I love the World Series.
Last night, I'm not. Sham and I had been so good, but you give a Dodgers team a second look at that guy, that kind of lineup. I wasn't totally surprised that it went south pretty quickly for the Mets in that game.
Bro, he was flipping stuff up there by the second.
Tommy Edman came through in the first and the third with 4 RBI, ended up being named the NLCS MVP. Congratulations to Tommy. But Dodgers do go on to the World Series thanks to their offense, not their pitching mostly. The bullpen, yes, gets some credit, but it's mostly the offense is the reason that they're there competing in the World Series. And it's first time the Yankees and Dodgers have met in the World Series since 1981. So it's not like this happens every single year. It's the first
44 years.
First time ever, I think, that both World Series teams have had a 50 home run hitter in their lineup.
MVP is going head-to-head, Shohei and Judge.
That's never happened before. So this matchup between Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani is historic.
Yep.
And will drive ratings across the country.
I don't know why everybody cares about ratings. Like,
I'm just curious.
I know. Here in San Diego, that's a fair observation. But so many people are like, "Oh, the ratings, You don't care.
Yeah, you're not making any money.
You don't make a commission off of the ratings.
Unless you
what
work
do you care?
Unless you work at Fox.
Did you watch the World Series last year?
I did.
The ratings say you didn't.
You're right.
Nobody cared about the Diamondbacks and the Rangers.
I want baseball to do well for the health of the sport.
Yeah, for sure.
This is good for the health of the sport.
It really is.
Not?
Good ratings is good for the health of the sport. So in that sense, it's a good matchup for the overall health of baseball. I'm still mad that they put games on FS1 instead of like Major Fox.
Yeah.
I got to find these games because executives are worried. We're not going to get enough ratings. We'd rather have a football game on the main Fox and farm off a championship series game to like cable. You get enough ratings, they're going to put those games on where everyone can see them, and then you'll have more ratings. So it's good for the health of the game ultimately to have a matchup like this. It just, for us particularly, it's just not a fun matchup in terms of we don't want either team to win.
Yeah, if you take the glasses off and just be baseball fan and watch, I'm not saying you should or have to, but I can't miss this. I mean, this is like Ali Frazier.
All right, we'll get to some Padres in our second hour. Plus, we'll turn some page to some football, including a new #1 team in college football and a busy NFL Sunday as well. And take on Woods. I'll come up next year on The Fan. Congratulations to our boss, Adam Klug. I know you didn't get to watch much college football on Saturday with your soccer coaching and roping and Julian that you were doing. But, Paulie, you watched some college football, and the number 5 ranked Georgia Bulldogs went into Austin, Texas, and just handed it to the number 1 team in the country. 23-0 in the first half? Yeah. Really spoiled the party for all those Texas Longhorns fans. Made a game of it in the third quarter, but ultimately 30-15, and Georgia hands Texas their first loss of the year.
Yeah, I had most of the games going on Saturday, and I think it was Tennessee, Alabama was 12:30, so I was watching that game, and they were previewing the whole day. They were previewing Texas, Georgia. They said over 105,000 people were expected on that, and then they had like their alternate crew or a couple of like new reporters working sidelines for that game because they had other people there for F1 was also in Austin yesterday.
Lord.
Like Austin was like the center of the sports universe.
Saw that. Yeah,
weekend.
they had the Cowboys cheerleaders, the Texas marching band, all at that F1 race yesterday in Austin. So yeah, it must have been an absolutely insane weekend in Austin, Texas. But they're not happy about Texas losing. This is about as wide open as college football's been.
It really is.
In a long time. With the 12-team playoff, it was already going to be like open to more teams. And now, Oregon takes over as the new number 1 team in the country after they shut out Purdue on Friday night 35-0. They have had no trouble in their move to the Big Ten.
None. 7-0.
Unlike USC, which lost for the 4th time.
Yeah, buddy.
Losing by 1 point to Maryland. I think their 4 losses are by less than 2 touchdowns combined. But they're dead in the water. You're not going to make the playoffs with 4 losses. But now you have every SEC team already has a loss. And we're only in mid-October.
Right.
It's the earliest I think they've said that's ever happened that every SEC team has lost. Alabama now has 2 losses, Paulie, in that game that Tennessee was able to pull it out in the second half, 24-17. So
how shocking is that? I mean, it's just
wild to see a 2
I know.
Alabama's record.
This tweet murdered me this weekend. This guy tweeted, USC left for the Big Ten thinking they'd be like Michigan and Ohio State. It turns out they're just beach Purdue. And another one was like, these guys really, they really joined the Big Ten, ruined the Pac-12 for everybody, them leaving, and to fly across the country to lose to Minnesota and Maryland. Like, unbelievable. So I'm reveling in it. I hate Lincoln Riley. I've never liked Lincoln Riley. I told you guys when you got Lincoln Riley, he's a fraud, and he's been one big, massive fraud.
It's wild, though. I'm conflicted because I don't know still how I feel about conference realignment. Like, over the last couple of years, it's kind of sucked to sit back and watch. And maybe that's because we have a Mountain West school here in our backyard. But it's just been kind of like, there's just been something kind of dirty about it.
Oh, yeah.
And then you watch this season, and you're like there is premier matchups every single weekend. Teams are beating each other, but the top 10 is still like incredibly fascinating. And you just have at least 1 or 2 good games every single week, and you're like, crap, it actually worked.
It's almost like they knew what they were doing a little bit.
It totally worked.
And, even with 2 losses, Alabama's not out of a playoff race at all because with 12 teams, you can bounce back with 2 losses, which is why this is better. It was never a good idea to have a format where 2 or even 1 loss sometimes, or last year for Florida State, 0 losses and you're already eliminated. You had no chance to make it. Yep. Now it's gonna be wild. I mean, you have beyond Oregon, other undefeated teams. Miami continues to sneak by. Somehow the Hurricanes are still undefeated. You've got Iowa State undefeated. BYU is undefeated. Indiana looks like they're for real.
What in the world?
They slaughtered Nebraska, who had been 5-1, 56-7.
That is ungodly.
I mean, probably the best football team Indiana has ever had in the history of the school this year.
No respect, by the way.
And then you have the teams that'll be fighting for that non-Power 4 spot. Army and Navy among them. Both of those teams still undefeated in the top 25. So you have like wild chaos in college football, and I do think it's good for the sport. The UCLA Rutgers game was not good for the sport. Those kind of conference matchups where you have kids that have to fly across the country for meaningless games between 1-4 and 2-3 teams in their conference is not all that healthy. But for college football fans and viewers, I feel like there's been more big games every single week than I can ever remember in college football. And it's because I think of the new playoff format and some of the college football realignment, to be honest.
Yeah, man. Irish played Navy this weekend. I am a panicked mess. They look fantastic.
Yeah, Notre Dame's still in it with one loss,
one
obviously. They beat Georgia Tech 31-13, so they're not out of it either. But Navy is certainly going to be looking for the upset this week and another, there's lots of big games
Stupid option
in college football. Need a contestant for Take on Woods. If you want to call us, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. We got tickets to a sold-out show for Social Distortion on the line this week.
Yes.
You like that?
Love that.
Sold out at the Observatory, North Park. So a good venue.
We'll be in Texas.
Smaller.
My wife is so disappointed. We'll be in Texas for the holidays.
But you can win them by beating or tying Woods and Take on Woods, our musical trivia challenge. Coming up momentarily, 833-288-0973. The phone lines are open right now if you want to call and play our game in a couple of minutes.
It's been interesting this month. We've switched things up just a little bit. Obviously, if you've been paying attention, we haven't had the qualify for a Vegas getaway.
Yeah.
So with concert tickets like this, you're calling in to win them, and if you lose, they go up for grabs later in the show.
That's exactly right.
So as the listener, unfortunately,
You're
you have
rooting
all
for me.
the other tier ones
Yeah.
are rooting against
It's
you.
like
That's
you have
right.
to cheer for the Yankees.
That's right. You have
And
to root
Take
for
on
me.
Woods.
That's exactly right. Yeah, they're
'Cause
up.
You don't want the other team to win this time.
They're
so.
up for grabs if I could pull out a win.
Football yesterday. Did you get to watch any of the NFL?
Yeah, a
yesterday?
little bit, very little.
There were some good games. Obviously, we talked about Chiefs and 49ers.
I bet the Chiefs, so I watched that game, and that was never
wasn't,
really.
It wasn't a great game. It's like every Chiefs game this year has been kind of not great, and the Chiefs have ended up winning it, but they haven't, been that impressive, even though they're the only undefeated team left.
I would say if you lose your top three receivers and you're going up against the Niners defense, like that, I'd say that's pretty impressive to be able to get that dub handily.
Winning 6 games in a row or whatever in the NFL is not easy.
Pretty handily.
They'll be there.
Patrick Mahomes, having him as your quarterback is a pretty solid. It's a solid balm for when you lose your top 3 receivers.
You almost feel like how many Super Bowls have they been to in the last 5 years? Like 4.
Right.
Like you almost feel like they know they just got to do They know exactly what they need to do to get to the postseason, and then they turn it on.
That's exactly right. So I thought that game was. I mean, you're pretty bummed if you're a Niners fan. They have not had a great season. 3-4 right now. I watched that game. That was my bet of the week. It was minus 1.5 for the Chiefs, and they covered easily.
I thought the most impressive wins, obviously the Lions going on the road and beating the undefeated Vikings. Really good game. Back and forth. You had the fumble return touchdown for the Vikings to give them the lead in the fourth quarter as they came back, but then Jared Goff drives the Lions down the field. They kick the field goal to win at 31-29. Both teams now with 1 loss, but that looks like it's going to be a good race in the NFC North all the way to the end of the season. Last night, the Steelers, Mike Tomlin got so much flack for putting Russell Wilson in at quarterback after Justin Fields had gotten them,
he had won
a solid start.
Games, yes.
And then they go and just trash the Jets, especially in the second half. And okay.
So I was watching baseball, obviously, but I kept, I was looking at Twitter the whole time, and people were like, "Oh my God, Tomlin's got to go. How do you make this decision? How do you make this decision?" Was it a really sloppy first half?
It wasn't. Yeah. It wasn't great. Russell Wilson threw some really bad passes, like Denver Broncos era Russell Wilson passes, and you're going, "This is bad." And Mike Tomlin said, I was kind of on an island, even here in the building.
Yeah, dude.
Everyone's going, what are you doing? We're winning with Justin Fields. And his rationale, though, I thought made a lot of sense. He goes, I always I wanted to see both quarterbacks. I want to answer these questions now, as opposed to not knowing in December, in the playoffs and see what I've got. So I wanted to play him. And guess what? Russell Wilson ended up looking pretty good. The passing offense was better than it had been under Justin Fields. And they've got a good team. So, and the Jets just looked pretty awful, especially in the second half. Even with, Devontae Adams now, didn't seem to really light any spark with the New York Jets.
Saw a couple drops from him.
They're 2-5. They got a pretty easy schedule, so they're not out of it. But they've got their work cut out if they can even come back to win like a wild card at this point. And I thought the other team that was a big win, the Green Bay Packers beating the Houston Texans. That was actually a sneaky. We didn't even talk about that sneaky big game. Jordan Love, 3 TD passes.
He's a good player,
and
man.
I think the Packers are under the radar Super Bowl contender in the NFC.
And I think the most under the radar team is the Washington Commanders. I mean, they are as under the radar as it gets. Trounced Carolina, that's no great feat.
Putting up big numbers.
You
for
putting
sure.
up big numbers. Jaden Daniels has been really, really good. Got a little injured yesterday.
Rib injury. They'll have to keep an eye on that. So there was some good football yesterday. Keep an eye on that. It looks like we got a contestant on the line.
Let's go.
Perry, you're up. Let's play a little Take on Woods. All right, Take on Woods is brought to you by Valvoline Instant Oil Change. It only takes 15 minutes. You don't have to get out of your car. For directions and discounts, go to SoCalOilChange.com. That's SoCalOilChange.com. Good morning to you, Terry. How are you?
Hey, love your show. Morning.
Thank you for calling in. All right, you got 5 questions of musical trivia head-to-head against Woods. If you beat or tie him, you will win instantly. We've got tickets to see Social Distortion at a sold-out show on Friday, December 20th at the Observatory North Park. Woods very excited about this prize, and he's going to try to keep it from you so we can give it to other Tier 1s later. But this is your chance, and you get the choice of category to give you the advantage. We've got On the Chessboard songs with chess and chess pieces in the title. Twice as Nice, those are song titles with the same word repeated twice. And Hand Over Fist, 5 musical questions and answers about things you'll find on your hand. So, On the Chessboard, Twice as Nice, or Hand Over Fist. Terry, what would you like to play?
Twice as nice.
Twice
Sounds
as
good.
nice. All right, today's category is filled with song titles with the same word repeated twice, just back to back. You'll have 60 seconds to answer as many of the 5 as you can. If you don't know an answer, pass. We'll come back to it if there's time left on the clock. First question is the 2-second song. Paulie's going to play you a little music. You need to give me that double word song title and the artist. Two-part question to score that point. Terry, are you ready to play?
Let's do it.
All right. Again, the category Twice as Nice. 60 seconds on the clock. Your time begins when Paul plays the music. Good luck, Terry. Let's take on Woods.
Rebel.
By?
David Bowie.
Correct. The Mutual of New York building inspired which classic by Tommy James and the Shondells, later covered by Billy Idol in 1981?
Money.
Correct. It's one of the most recorded songs in rock and roll history, but it's a version of which tune by the Kingsmen that appears in the 1978 movie Animal House? Oh, his phone's breaking
up a
up.
little
Try,
bit.
repeat that one. Yeah, I heard it. Oh, I hope his phone clicks in. Which 1966 classic by the Mamas and the Papas includes the line, "Can't Trust That Day"? Oh, his phone's dying. I think you got it. Give it to me one more time. There it is. I heard it. British new wave band Naked Eyes followed up their successful debut cover of Always Something There to Remind Me with which original hit that reached the top 20? I feel so bad. His phone just killed him there.
I couldn't hear anything.
I heard it I doubt you heard it on the radio, but I think he got the first 4. Rebel by David Bowie, Moni, Louie, Monday, but we did not end up with time for Promises. Hang on the line, Terry. I don't know. I think Woods is going to do well on this category. We'll see. It's a good score, though, and the bad phone line. Terry had a bad phone line, yet put up a decent score.
Okay.
See how he does against you.
Guy's making the most of his opportunity.
Exactly.
Okay.
No category for Woods. 60 seconds back on the clock. Your time begins when Paul plays the music. Good luck, Woods. Let's take on Terry.
That is Rebel by David Bowie.
Correct. The Mutual of New York building inspired which classic by Tommy James and the Shondells, later covered by Billy Idol in 1981?
I'm going to come back to it, Pat.
It's one of the most recorded songs in rock and roll history, but it's a version of which tune by the Kingsmen that appears in the 1978 movie Animal House?
Louie.
Correct. Which 1966 classic by the Mamas and the Papas includes the line, "Can't Trust That Day"?
Monday, and the Billy Idol is Moni.
Correct. British new wave band Naked Eyes followed up their successful debut cover of Always Something.
Promises.
Yeah, that was going to do it.
Yes.
5-4.
Yes!
Terry never even got to the last question because of the phone trouble. We had to keep
would've
having him
gotten it, I
repeat
think.
his answers, so we never got to that last one.
Promises,
Sorry,
promises, rules. Really,
It's
all
really good.
of those songs are pretty good.
And that category, of course, was called Twice as Nice.
I would have called it the repeater.
That would have been effective as well. Terry, you can always try again, hopefully with a better phone next time. You did a very nice job.
Very
but
nice job.
Unfortunately, Woods wins this edition.
I almost
Let's
said
take on
Rebel
Woods.
Yell, by the way. Because
That
the
would've been
first
wrong,
one, the first one was Rebel Rebel, and then it was Billy Idol. I was like, was Rebel,
Rebel
Yell?
Yell.
But
No.
I'm like, that's not a cover of
No,
a song.
you could have gone
so-
Rebels. Rebels would have been, I don't
Rebels.
know. All the Rebel I don't know if there are any more Rebel songs than those two.
I'm
But
sure there are some Rebel songs.
we've got Don't Do This coming up next. I mean, there were so many candidates that I think even
You do an hour.
even Deshaun Watson getting booed off the field with an injury by his own fans doesn't even make it this week, unfortunately.
Crazy. Ken Rosenthal's up to his old
You
tricks
always
again.
will include a little Ken Rosenthal if you can. All right, we'll get to that coming up after a check of traffic with Ben and Woods on 97.3.
Hamul Casino. Fun above all else. Hamul Casino. Fun above all else.
Woods, you have it out for Ken Rosenthal.
I do
at this
not.
point.
This is from awful announcing. This isn't a Woods thing.
He is,
I didn't even know about this until I saw awful announcing.
I don't disagree. I think Ken has done more to harm his own brand this postseason
100%.
than I can remember really any reporter in quite some time.
No doubt.
Without
No doubt.
committing a crime or something.
No doubt.
He has really gone from fairly, not everyone's favorite. I mean,
right.
he certainly had his moments, but I've gone from I'm okay with Ken Rosenthal to okay, this is now someone I am not a fan of anymore.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, obviously, we know what happened here. And then last night on the broadcast, he had this to say.
Kenny? Well, Joe, you make a great point. It took incredible discipline for Roberts not to chase those victories in Game 2 and Game 5. And frankly, it was not a great look, effectively conceding postseason games. But should they hold on, the end will justify the means. He had to manage this way because he was shorthanded with his rotation, shorthanded in his bullpen once they lost Alex Messi.
So essentially, Kenny, and a lot of Met fans they're like, oh, so we didn't win those games. The Dodgers let us win those games. It was brilliant managing by Dave to punt. By the way, just think about what he just said. Brilliant managing to punt 2 games in a series that, you know what, man? It's not like the Mets were loaded for bear with starters either. It's not like every team that's left in the playoffs, well, there's only 2 left now, but are loaded for bear, starting pitching-wise. We get it. We know Tyler Glasnow got hurt. We know that. You still paid $324 million for Yamamoto. You still have Jack Flaherty, who you traded for. You still have an elite bullpen. The Mets won those games. They did it from their own volition, not because Dave Roberts allowed them to win those games, effectively punting those. And I liked what Awful Announcing said. They said, look, you can credit Roberts' handling of the pitching staff without saying that he was effectively conceding games and praising his incredible discipline for doing so. There's a difference between managing wisely to set your team up better to bounce back from a likely loss. One sounds like it's crediting a skipper for situational awareness. The other essentially says the series went 6 games because the Dodgers gave 2 to the Mets. Met fans were livid.
I would think even Dave Roberts would push back on that. We didn't concede either of those games. It didn't go the way we wanted it to go, but they started Jack Flaherty in Game 5.
Yeah, exactly.
He didn't pitch well. I mean, what do you do at that point? Just throw all your high leverage relievers when you're already down a bunch of runs early? No, that's right. That would be dumb. That would be dumb managing.
Yeah, no doubt.
If you want to give credit for Dave Roberts for not being an idiot, when you can't use your best relievers every single game, even in the postseason. We all know this already.
Everyone knows this. This isn't some incredible discipline.
Yeah, it's not some revelation that Dave Roberts has discovered that, oh, you mean you can't pitch your closer every inning of every game of the postseason? No, you can't.
Yeah.
And it's not insight.
Well, like I said earlier, man, the narrative around Dave Roberts has changed, certainly, but we'll see. Still got 4 more games to win.
All right, I'll go to college football. We talked a little bit earlier about the Georgia Bulldogs win over number 1 Texas. In that game, a little bad behavior from Texas fans who threw bottles onto the field after a controversial pass interference call resulted in a delay in the game. And today, the Longhorns have been fined $250,000 by their new conference, the SEC,
Damn.
for fans throwing trash onto the field. They've also issued an apology. Here's the problem, though. It actually helped the team
It
out.
helped them, yeah.
So,
There was
so
the
they
delay.
So they were down 23-8 in the third quarter, and they intercepted a pass, but the defensive back was called for pass interference. And referees were set to move on. They, 15 yards for Georgia, get them closer to the end zone. But then fans threw a bunch of bottles onto the field, causing a delay. And while that delay was on and they were cleaning up, the officials decided to discuss it a little bit more and go, we're picking up the flag, and the interception counts. And it actually helped Texas get back into the game with a chance to win it. So essentially, you were rewarding fans for their bad behavior by giving their team another shot. And Kirby Smart was really mad about it. He said, now we've set a precedent. If you throw a bunch of stuff onto the field and endanger athletes, you've got a chance to get your call reversed. And that's dangerous. That's not what we want. That's not criticizing officials. That's what happened.
Yeah, it's true. But it was nice to see, you can't ever do that. It was nice to see Coach Sarkisian get on the mic and tell them to stop. That's something that we're missing in at least other sports that I've seen recently. Getting on the mic and telling your fans, don't act like absolute imbeciles and put players in harm's way. I've seen it in basketball. Coach gets on the mic. Seen it in soccer. Now we've seen it in college football. Be nice to see that accountability in other sports.
All right, finally a little do this.
DD mega do.
I really enjoyed the Guardians-Yankees series, and I thought the Guardians won the hearts and minds of a lot of people with the way that they played and really never quit. And those games were electric, almost every one of them. They were just so good. And I really think Stephen Vogt, as a first-year manager, thrown into that situation, leading his team, and really just a couple of moves away, you felt from the series changing. But he got up on the podium, and listen to this for a minute. This, yes, talks about baseball, but this is also very applicable to anything you do. If you're a musician, if you're a radio host, if you're a dad, a mom, whatever it may be, this is just good life advice from Guardian skipper Stephen Vogt.
The way I do it is I ask myself what's true. You can write a narrative in your head and spin yourself down a negative path and beat yourself up and second guess and go back. But what's true is you made what you thought was the best decision in the moment, and then you leave it behind. And I have a mentor of mine that says, learn the lesson, leave the event. You leave the event behind and you learn everything you can from it. And there's no going back. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone makes good decisions, bad decisions, or they just didn't work. So for me, it's the way I do it is I ask.
I guess there was more to that, but he was just essentially saying, like, I can live with my decisions. I'm not going to beat myself up. The decisions I made in the moment, I was trying to make the right decision. In hindsight, probably don't pitch to Giancarlo Stanton with the base open a couple times. You don't let him beat. And you wonder, Dave Roberts watching that going, but the thing is about baseball is you always wonder, I think, if you're a skipper, and I tweeted over the weekend, managing the postseason has got to feel like a catheter is being put in and taken out, put in and taken out, put in and taken out for 4 hours. Ow. Right? Like laying on a table, just a root canal. What's the worst thing? Like a surgery without anesthesia for 4 hours. Every move you make can spiral. There's also that thing in baseball where you look at it and go, Giancarlo has been really good in his career in postseason, but he still swings it a lot. If I can get him to chase, I want to get this out here.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I was reading somewhere this weekend that one of the ways you establish a great culture is you have to have it's 100% okay to make mistakes, and unacceptable not to learn from them.
Correct.
So did Stephen Vogt not learn from his mistake when he threw to Giancarlo Stanton? If the Padres had simply, we gave up a home run to Shohei Ohtani in his first at-bat of that series and walked him every time, they actually did a good job.
They did a good job.
They
it's
adjusted
a great point
to him.
you
It
make.
doesn't mean you never throw to the guy again because he hit a home run off of you.
Keeping It Real says you look at the analytics. Okay, the analytics aren't always right. If the analytics were always right, then you wouldn't need a manager.
And by the way, on that second Giancarlo Stanton home run of 2 days, the catcher was he was set up way outside. It was not supposed to be there. The pitcher,
he missed his spot.
Yeah. And, Giancarlo Stanton made him pay. Should they have walked him? Yeah, in the hindsight, of course.
It's a great point you make about Shohei. First AB off Dylan Cease in the postseason against the Padres, he hits one 500 feet. Didn't do anything really after that. But Mike Schilt didn't give him the four fingers every time he came up. They found a way to maybe try to get him out, get some weak contact. I think it is it's matchups, it's all of that. But I love what Stephen Vogt had to say. It's just a good life lesson too. Like you can't be afraid to fail, and you got to live with your mistake because you can't change it. You got to just try to learn from it the more you go. But he's a good manager, man. Really good manager. What a first season for him.
And that's Don't and Do This for a Monday.
That was Don't Do This with Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
By the way, bonus Do This, just so I don't forget to bring it up. Congratulations to Ricky Pearsall of the 49ers, who had his first catch yesterday. If you'll remember, Woods, Ricky Pearsall was shot in the chest like 7 weeks ago. And actually lived and got back on the field and got to play and make his first catch in the NFL yesterday, which is a pretty cool moment.
Pretty staggering.
All right, we'll come back. So A.J. Preller is going to speak this morning at 11 o'clock. What is he going to do this offseason, and what is he able to do this offseason after the latest payroll analysis of the Padres coming back in 2025? We'll take a look ahead for Padres fans coming up next on 97.3 The Fan. All right, AJ Preller at 11 o'clock this morning. You called for it, Woods, last week. You demanded an end-of-the-year Zoom news conference, and you're getting it.
Well, yeah, man. I'm up there watching Dave Dombrowski, give everybody, hey, this is what went wrong. This is what we're going to do better. This is what we did for this guy. And I thought, oh, okay, well, maybe teams wait till after the World Series to do it or whatever. They didn't, man. I saw some postmortems from a bunch of different teams last week, and I was just kind of wondering, when is ours? I want to hear from the man.
So will you actually be on the Zoom news conference?
100%.
Right, you're going to be on it.
I texted my wife. I'd go, clear the decks. I got to be on a Zoom today.
For Padres fans, you will be able to hear it live here on 97.3 The Fan during the Annie and Elston program at 11 o'clock this morning.
I may even ask a question.
Really?
You never know. You never know what you may get.
I kind of know.
You never know. You never know.
You're going to have to, do you know how to do that on Zoom?
Yeah, you put your name in the chat,
yeah,
and then they'll call on you.
You raise your hand, or either put your name in the chat. Sometimes you have to raise your hand in the chat as well.
And then Craig will say, Stephen Woods, 97.3 The Fan.
And then you turn on your camera.
Hey, AJ, it's Woodsy.
Your audio.
Great season. What the hell happened?
Is that your question?
Yeah, my question. What happened?
Really?
Well, now they know not to call on you.
Yeah, 100%. If they're listening right now, they probably are. Hey, what happened?
Good morning, guys.
Hey, good morning. What happened?
All right, we'll talk about what we do and don't expect from AJ's news conference and what he has to work with after these payroll projections that were written about. At least they're not new, but they were written about over the weekend in the UT by Jeff Sanders.
Padres PR. All right, let's go to Adam Kluge, 97.3 The Fan.
Hey. Yes?
Hello.
Is there any way you could make a graphic in case you guys exceed the luxury tax?
Will they? And can they do anything if they don't?
Because what did I do? You existed.
We will discuss right after traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by the brand new Front Wave Arena in Oceanside. Still clearing crash on eastbound 905 before Caliente. Those vehicles are in the center divide. Now reports of a collision on northbound 805 before Home Avenue. A couple cars involved. They're over to the right shoulder. Southbound side of the 5 just past Pershing. We have reports of a stalled car over to the right shoulder. The San Diego Clippers are ready for an exciting season at Front Wave Arena. The home opener on November 8th is Bill Walton Night, presented by Front Wave Credit Union. Join the fun as we celebrate Bill Walton and his legacy. You won't want to miss it. Grab your tickets at frontwavearena.com. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben & Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
All right, keep in mind that a lot of these numbers are estimates, but for the most part, they're going to come in somewhere in the range that is predicted. And the ones that are a little low, there will also be some that are a little high. So overall, this should be a fairly accurate representation of at least where the Padres are headed payroll-wise in 2025, Woods. And according to the UT analysis by Jeff Sanders over the weekend, right now the Padres are committed to just under $200 million in actual salary for 2025.
Okay.
That includes raises for several players who are arbitration eligible, like Luis Arise, who's projected to get $14.6 million, Dylan Cease at $13.7 million, Michael King at just under $8 million, Jason Adam at $5.3 million. Also includes contractual increases for players signed to long-term deals, like Fernando Tatis Jr. jumps up to $20 million this year. Jake Cronenworth will jump up to $11 million next year as well.
25. In 25.
In 25,
right,
yeah, next year, in 2025. Add it up all together, and if you bring back essentially the same team, minus free agents who are leaving that aren't under contract, you're already committing close to $200 million. Now, that's the actual payroll. The luxury tax payroll is a different number because instead of the actual figures, that's based on the average annual value. So even though Manny Machado is only going to make $13 million next year, the average value of his contract's $30 million.
You get banged for that.
So you get banged another $17 million for Manny. You get banged another 12 to 13, I believe, for Tatis. And according to Spot Track, when you add up all those figures, Padres are projected to hit around $243 million on the luxury tax number, which is already $2 million over the tax threshold of $241 million. Ooh. So essentially what we're saying is that if you wanted to just bring back the team as is without making a single free agent signing, you just wanted to, give arbitration to the arbitration eligible guys and bring everybody back and run it back, you're already either at or over the luxury tax level right there before making a single move. It's a sobering thought for Padres fans who are hoping, for activity in the free agent market, picking up some new players. Not if the Padres want to stay below the luxury tax level like they did this year.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Now,
I'm letting that sink in. I want to really feel it.
Yeah.
It's like a shot of the worst alcohol you can drink.
When I read that in the UT and I saw, $198.
We
like
got
$45 million to spend.
No, you got, according to Spot Track, negative $2 million to spend. You're going to actually have to shed some payroll to stay under that number this year.
Yeah.
Now, there's no rule that says you have to stay under it. And because the Padres did get under the luxury tax this year, all their penalties were reset.
Yep.
And they will be much lower if they go over, especially if they don't go over by a ton. So you could decide that, there were a couple of players you wanted, go over again, and then deal with the consequences in 2026.
Yeah, because as it stands now, if you ran this thing back, you're looking at an outfield of Fernando Tatis Jr., Jackson Merrill, and then one of Brandon Lockridge, Bryce Johnson, or Tirso Ornelas. So.
Correct.
And then your catchers would be Luis Campusano and Brett Sullivan.
Correct.
Yeah. And then your starting five would be Darvish, Cease, King, Waldron, and Vasquez.
Correct.
Which not much different than what you had at the beginning of the year, right? I mean, that's kind of what we rolled out there with for a while.
The middle chunk of the year.
The other is what really bugs me. The other is about $34 million that will not play at all. I mean, Joe Musgrove's hurt. Can't do anything about that. That is what it is. He's hurt. He'll be back in 26, or maybe at the very, very end of next year. But the Eric Hosmer, $13 million.
He seems healthy, actually.
Eric seems very healthy and active on social media and has had a real fun time just roasting people every single day and getting roasted in return. It's been really a sight to see during the playoffs. Playoff Hosmer hits different. But yeah, so
that's why we signed him.
That's why we signed him. That's exactly why we signed him.
Now, there are ways you could, lower the payroll to open up some room for free agents.
You don't tender Arise.
You could not offer arbitration to Luis Arise, or you could sign him to a long-term deal at a lower average value.
But you still have control
than
of
$14 million.
You could trade him.
You could trade any of these players.
Dylan
Cease, Luis Arise, Michael King.
Yep.
I don't know that trading any of those players makes your team better,
Correct.
though, in 2025. The trick is, how do you get better without getting way more expensive and going over the luxury tax?
And you don't have the giant, massive chip of Juan Soto that you can trade for 5 players. And again, I understand, and this was one of the points Hosmer made over the weekend that I didn't necessarily agree with. He said, somebody said, the Yankees and the Padres both essentially won the Juan Soto trade. I think that's a fair way to look at it. The Yankees very happy to have Juan Soto. They gave up 5 pieces to get him, but those 5 pieces really helped this team, get to, albeit a very disappointing playoff exit or early exit, but we don't get there without those guys. And Eric said, no, you only win a trade if you win the World Series. And I said, well, that's not true. That's categorically false. To win a trade, you do not have to win a World Series. We are all in agreement on that, right?
I agree.
Yeah, you do not have to win a World Series.
I mean, if you want to go by statistically, is the WAR of Juan Soto, which was 7.9, more or less than the WAR of the players that you acquired?
Correct.
Now, are you counting Dylan Cease among those players? Because
I
used
absolutely am.
Drew Thorpe, but also other players to get him. So there's no way to specifically totally account for that number. But when you combine Michael King,
it's not unheard of that AJ could have still went and got Dylan Cease,
Kyle Gashioka, Randy Vasquez, Drew Burrito, and some portion of Dylan Cease. Yeah, you absolutely can say the Padres got more WAR out of that than the Yankees got out of Juan Soto.
Yeah, right. If Juan Soto wins World Series MVP for the New York Yankees, which we're all hoping is the case, then you could just say they definitely won. Both teams won, but they won more.
Plus, you also, they only have Juan Soto for this year. Right. Now, they may re-sign him, but that has nothing to do with the trade. The Padres have Michael King, Randy Vasquez in their rotation probably for next year. That is also part of the value of the trade that you made. Ultimately, the Padres are going to numerically win that trade pretty handily, and the Yankees won't care, especially if they win a World Series. But from value that AJ got back for Juan Soto, he's going to have a pretty clear win in that trade.
Yeah, but again, you don't have that big chunk that you can move that people are clamoring for. That you can, and AJ cut a ton of money last year and had a good season. So I guess your hope is that he's able to finagle that again. But hope is something to hang your hat on, but it certainly is more dire than even I expected at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think the part that concerns me the most is, and we won't get an answer from AJ Preller as to, hey, are you going to be able to go over the luxury tax? Yeah. I promise you that even if it's asked, and it probably will be asked, there will be no definitive answer on that from AJ or Eric Kutsenda or anyone else in the Padres front office. Again, we still don't have the answer to that question from
last year,
last offseason. Yeah. We only have what the Padres did, the moves that they made, and the fact that they shed over $90 million in payroll to get under the luxury tax to make us believe that was the goal, was shedding a bunch of payroll. Now, could AJ argue? No. I was free to spend as much as I wanted. I just thought this was the best version of our team that had us shedding $90+ million of payroll. And look, I may have been right. We were on the doorstep of, the National League Championship Series and maybe the World Series. We won the second most games in franchise history. Did I do something wrong? No. I just put the best team together possible. Just happened to be a lot cheaper than it was in 2023, in 2024. So we won't get an answer to that question today.
Well, they'll be judged on what the team looks like on opening day, as they always are, as every team
Which
is.
also is not necessarily fair.
Correct, because it was a totally different team at the end of the year.
The team that the Padres put together on opening day. The Padres, more than anyone else, is rarely the team that you get later in the season as well.
No question.
So it's a moving target. The scale that we're grading on is sliding always when it comes to the San Diego Padres and AJ Preller.
Yeah, and I guess after last season, the early exit notwithstanding, I think a pretty good job was done by AJ Preller last year to get this team, to have them ready, at least to make that run. And running it back is just a weird thing. I don't know. It's a gut thing. It's a recency bias thing where you look at it and go, yeah, if we run it back, the same thing will happen. That's just not the case. It rarely is the case. I like consistency. I do like the guys that are here right now. I just feel like there's not a lot you can do with what, you have the guys. There's not a lot you can do. There's not a lot of flexibility. So running it back may be our only option. And then you're still going to have to add. You still have to add. There's still pieces that need to be added. So I don't know how they're going to do that.
Yeah, I think it would be foolish to ever doubt AJ's creativity or work ethic in putting a roster together. But I do worry when you look at potentially trying to stay under the luxury tax and going, even re-signing Kyle Higashioka looks like it would be
like a stretch,
like prohibitive and a stretch at this point. And that's just to have your catcher position basically with a couple of, backup options as your starter. Not
and Jerkson Profar. I mean, if those numbers are true, he's as good as gone.
Yeah, just bringing those two guys back would blow you way over the luxury tax number. Assuming everyone else returns, just getting those two guys back to put the same team on the field is going to be more expensive and more difficult to do next season. So, yeah, AJ's got his work cut out for him. I mean, he had even more. I mean, last year to say he didn't have his work, that was insane what he did. To cut $90+ million in payroll, even to put a last place team on the field would be tough to do for most general managers. To put a 93-win team on the field when you do that was ridiculous. So he's earned some trust and some faith. He's got another tough job this offseason.
The other way to look at that, though, is he's had some trust and he's had some faith. And I think, if it doesn't work out, it was such a great job. He did such a brilliant job at getting them ready and building that bullpen and all of that. But, can you do it again? And maybe the payroll restrictions are even a little bit more stringent this year because, again, you don't have that big chip you can unload that whacks a big number off of your bottom line, and you get a bunch of prospects and stuff back for. I mean, creativity is you can be as creative as you want. You got to have players that you feel that you can move while not costing yourself, wins.
This segment of Ben and Woods brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings. Buffalo Wild Wings is football. B-Dubs is kicking off football season with 2 limited-time sauces. Try their new Buffalo Bacon Sauce for bold notes of smoky bacon, or get the fan-favorite hot barbecue before it's gone. Try them at your local B-Dubs or order now for takeout and delivery with Buffalo Wild Wings Go. We've got John Sterling, the voice of the Yankees, legendary voice of the Yankees, going to join us in our 8 o'clock hour. I also have a neighbor question for you.
Oh, yeah, I like it.
That, I just need your advice. We'll get to that coming up next with Ben Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
Well, one thing I've learned, my friends, is nobody knows anything when it comes to prognostication of this great game of baseball. We were just in here chopping it up. By the way, we're halfway home on a Monday. Ben and Woods, 97.3 The Fan. I'm Woodsy. That's Paul. That's Ben. You can look at everything and say, well, it's going to be rough in 5 years. You don't know. You don't know what kind of prospects will come through. You don't know what kind of none of us expected Jackson Merrill to be really what Jackson Merrill was this season. And you need some of those guys to hit, literally hit, and figuratively as well.
Counterpoint, they could get 5 Jackson Merrills in the next 5 years, and you're still going to be paying like $30-40 million to guys that are
older,
pushing 40.
Sure, which is not super uncommon, and you can find that on championship teams. It does exist, and it's going to be interesting. I'm really curious as to what AJ has to say today. I don't know why. I've been covering AJ Preller a long time. Like you said, I don't think we're going to get any huge platitudes or plans or anything like that, but it is nice to hear from leadership, after what ended up being a pretty disappointing end to a really fun and inspiring season. But like they say, man, if you don't win the last one, nobody cares, The Yankee season really will be for naught if they don't win, and the Dodgers season will also be for naught if they don't win. I mean, that's 2 1 seeds right there. So 2 1 seeds, top 5 payrolls, going head-to-head. If you don't win it, it's a disappointment in my book.
Yeah, I mean, it could go 7 games. It could be back and forth, haymakers on both sides, tied 5-5 in the 12th inning of Game 7. Someone is going to end their season disappointed.
And you know what? I don't even know. I literally have no feel on how this is going to go. I really have no feel whatsoever on how this series is going to go, and that's the postseason every year kind of teaches you. You really don't know. You don't know what to expect. The Dodgers had no pitching, but now look how good their pitching is. Look how good that bullpen has been. The Yankees have done it with contributions from guys that didn't contribute much in the regular season. So it's just a total. I don't like the word crapshoot for it because these are 2 really good teams with great players. Can the stars be stars? Let's see. They're both laden with star players, and we'll see who's better. I'm glad that these 2 teams are going to square off. If it's not my team, I want to see these 2 teams square off and see who can land the biggest blow.
So before we move on, I do have this question to ask. We have a new neighbor, the house right next to mine.
Nice, congrats.
Saw a moving truck over the weekend and stuff there. I think they're renting the house next door. So, of course, I spent all yesterday morning baking cookies so I could take over and introduce myself to the new neighbors. No, I didn't. And I don't generally introduce myself to neighbors, and I feel bad about that.
Shocked.
Like, I've lived in my same house for about 12, 13 years. I know the names of one of my neighbors. Live kind of across the street and one house down because we took their kids to school for a couple of years. Am I a bad person that I don't go around and get to know my neighbors more?
Yes. Asked and answered.
All right, I don't know anything about this new neighbor yet, other than that he seems to be an artist.
Oh.
Because he has a van that's now parked in his driveway. Big, van without the windows in the back, and it has like his website for art on there.
Okay.
The van, though, is tie-dyed. It's very loud, tie-dyed, colored,
like a
van,
loud looking,
like loud. Loud looking,
loud
like
looking.
Just parked right there on the street, which is that shouldn't bother me, right? That someone has a tie-dyed van parked right next to my house. I mean, I'm not going to complain to the HOA or anything. I don't think he's doing anything wrong.
This is a good one.
Doesn't necessarily fit in with the rest of the neighborhood or look great. There's not, again, it's not like beat up. It's not like, broken down.
It's just loud.
It's just a really loud, rainbow colored, painted, tie-dyed van. For an artist, it probably makes a lot of sense.
Sure.
They were unloading like some sculptures and stuff I saw when the moving van was there. So clearly, it's an artist, and they have it's just very artsy. But now I've got this big van that I see as I drive into my house every day. Is that
am I is it bringing listen, it's not like it's a old Camaro up on blocks
Right.
in his front yard.
Right, it's not.
Right?
It's not.
Like,
I get it. Yeah.
There's I think because it's a van and it's not, like I said, on cinder blocks in the front yard.
Right.
I mean, we're really like, it's just what the guy drives.
Yeah, it's similar to that, except it's not a VW bus. It's an actual
like a
like a roadie,
like an Econoline van.
Yeah, like an Econoline
I think it's
type
kind of
van.
cool. Actually, I do. I think it's kind of cool.
I mean, if it pulled up to you and someone offered you candy out of it, run. I would absolutely run.
The groovy van. No, I don't. Listen, Dino says you're a snob. I don't think he's being a snob. I think
a little bit.
All right,
There's a little bit.
I was trying to
of that
defend
to
you
it.
there. I'm kind of a live and let live guy.
I am too.
I really am.
I mean, if they're not making a lot of noise and
right.
haven't had any disturbances or anything, it could be a lot worse for neighbors. You could do a lot worse than an artist, working on their art.
Bro, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I like the majority of my neighbors I'm pretty close with. Our neighbor, we have a neighbor, Ron, who's like our biggest tier one. And every time I see him, Woodsy, I'm listening right now. He's the greatest. So I bring him beer and stuff and give him T-shirts. He's the greatest. Our next door neighbors, I don't think like us very much. Our other neighbor, I've never seen her.
Okay.
I've never. But across the street, yes. Jeff Garcia lives at the end of the road.
Right.
I see him all the
Former
time.
NFL quarterback Jeff Garcia.
We have friends that are in all through the neighborhood, which is great. We're really good friends with this little guy, Luca. We play ball with him. So it's a real tight community. I don't think it would bug me if somebody parked.
If you didn't have kids, would you know any of your neighbors?
Yeah, I would. I'm from Texas.
The only reason I know any of my neighbors
mine.
is because of the kids. That's like the kids were the same age. So
Right.
that's how I ended up knowing like the one neighbors that I know.
Like I have no idea. I couldn't give you one name of any family member in the house 5 feet to our right, like right next door to us. No idea.
The scary thing is a lot of people, like we have neighbors, the Geffens that live behind us, they fully hear me screaming at my kids. Like fully, like the windows are open. They hear me lighting these kids up, like no question. So that's, it's a little unnerving at times to like people that listen to you on the radio, but also hear you screaming at your kids, just laying into them for the dumb things that they do.
I mean, Peter says, would you prefer a meth lab next door? Well, obviously not.
No.
But then again, Walter White seemed like he was a pretty good neighbor. Like,
Until he
kept his
wasn't.
house up, and until he wasn't. Seemed like, he was
Yeah.
decent, took care of the yard and everything. Was, was not a bad neighbor until the very end when obviously he was.
My wife's she's a bit of a, I'll say it. She's a bit of a Karen in the neighborhood. She's a bit of, this needs to change and that needs to change. And I'm just trying to get through the day, man. I'm trying to think of good content for the radio, just trying to raise my kids right, be a loving, supportive father and husband. That's really it. I don't worry about where people park and what they do and they put on their homes. I just never got to me.
We have a very enthusiastic neighborhood. I mean, there are Christmas lights 365 days a year strewn across our street.
Yeah.
People are very, like, Fridays, they're usually kind of like a impromptu block party that goes on just like, 5 or 6 houses down.
Yeah.
I've never really taken part, and now I feel like it's too late to like all of a sudden show up with a 6-pack and go, hey, my lawn chair and just sit out there with everybody after so many years.
I got an idea with the
I always
new
say
neighbor.
hi and I'm friendly when I go by.
Sure.
but-
Well, you work a lot, so I
do.
mean, it's not like you're sitting on your ass
No,
drinking
that's
beer in
true.
your front yard. I do think you should buy some of your new neighbor's art. That's one thing I think you should absolutely do. Ingratiate yourself. Buy a nice piece. You're redoing your house.
That's
You're
true.
cleaning
Yeah,
things
we're
out.
cleaning things out.
Get yourself a nice piece of art.
Something I'll need to clean out in like 3 or 4 years.
I'm begging you to get the website off of it and bring it to me so that I can look at it.
I will get the website and we can look up some of the art.
Some of the art
and
together, and we'll pick you out a nice piece.
Figure something affordable,
Your
hopefully.
Christmas present.
Yeah, it could be your Christmas present. Get you a nice piece of art for your home.
Ray says, have him paint your car.
Yeah, the Tony says, Ben, you're a small town celebrity. They would love to see you out there and relate. That's the thing, though, Tony. You don't always, when you're home with your family, you don't always want to sit and chew the fat about the Padres. Like once I'm done, I really don't want to talk about it. That happens to me all the time. Hey, it's a tough one, huh? Yeah, that sucked. Yeah, what do you think they're going to do next year? I have no idea. I just want to go inside and make a sandwich.
I actually talked about it for 4 hours this morning. Here's the link. You can go get all my thoughts there.
It's like
I'll airdrop you the link. Here
Our
you
tier
go.
ones. I got one this weekend. Oh my God, he's probably listening. I think he's in England. His name's Paul. The game's on Friday night, and I'm watching the Dodgers game, and Flaherty's getting lit up. This bro just hit me stream of consciousness through on DMs, and I wrote back, bro, I'm watching the game. I got it. And he's like, and it went for 3 hours, the course of the game, and I'm like, I got to ignore this. I just did this whole thing. I'm gonna have to talk about this on Monday. Let me live, man. I just want to be with my family a little bit.
We're privileged to get to do this job, obviously, but that kind of means we have lots of neighbors.
Yeah,
both physical and
online neighbors.
Neighbors.
They're not always great.
All the tier ones, you're kind of, in some ways, you live in our neighborhood with us all the time.
That's exactly right.
And we spend hours with you every day on our front porch.
This is the front porch.
Talking about the
We
Padres.
are sitting in chairs talking with our neighbors.
This is my front porch. This is where I sit and chat with all of you.
Yeah.
I don't do it when I'm actually on my front porch.
No,
I'm
correct.
sorry. I do it here. This is my front porch.
This is our front porch.
And you're welcome to my front porch.
Anytime.
Anytime you want to join us.
Anytime. There's no question. We just, we love having you here. But then when we shut the door's closed, you're not coming inside. Yeah, my wife's, she's up in arms right now. They built that tremendously huge condo complex down the street from us. But the weird thing is
right by the golf course.
They all park in our neighborhood at the entrance.
The entrance, yeah.
Yeah,
I heard
and
about
so
that.
it's just jammed. And so I'm like, well, here's how my operation is this. Oh, well, there's a lot more cars than usual. And I just go home and live my life. Not her. She's on Facebook pages.
You're just driving past the cars, and
Correct.
then you drive past them again on the way out.
Now, if they're parking in my driveway, yes, I have a problem with it. But they're not. They're
you
way
live up
the hell
in the neighborhood.
down.
They're not parking in front of your house.
Right. So I'm like, what do you
Occasionally,
care?
do you have to wait behind someone as they're pulling out?
Yes.
So
occasionally.
So 10
minor
10 seconds of your life every couple of days.
Bro, she goes, I just got into it with somebody on Facebook. I go, can you stop? Stop. I go, stop. They're not going to change. Nothing's going to change. Don't be that. Karen.
I've never wanted to get into HOA politics.
Never.
You know,
I
know someone has to do it and be on the HOA, the board, and there has to be some rules and regulations because we live in a society,
right?
And I get that, but I don't want to be the one who has to do it.
Yeah,
there are people who are built for that. It's not me.
I'm not it either, man.
It's not me.
Yeah,
sounds
Drew
like
says,
Hannah could do that.
Drew says, "Come try parking in North Park, bro." I lived in North Park. You're right. It was an S show. I mean, it was circling my own home for
I've had
hours.
so many friends over the years, they're like, oh, you should move to North Park. Oh, hey, we got a spot open. Move to North Park. I'm like, absolutely not, unless you guarantee me a driveway and it's mine and nobody else can have it.
It is
the only way I would do it.
Ooh, we got some HOA comments in the chat. HOA is the biggest scam. HOAs are evil. HOAs full of old, fat white ladies who think they have power.
Hannah's very thin, but she's not on the HOA.
Someone needs to maintain the common areas. We have like a park. They have to hire, gardeners. I'm not going over and mowing our park for everybody. Someone has to do that.
God, I wish you would. What are you doing? You want to play golf? I'm on mowing duty.
Raking today. I'm cleaning the community pool. I have to fish out all the, add the chlorine. No, you hire someone to do that as an HOA.
What do
Someone
HOA
has to
people
do that.
if you don't have a community pool? If you're not in it's just a normal neighborhood.
They police what you have on your home. They police where you park your car. I can't park my own car in front of my own home.
Oh, I can't either.
I'm not allowed to.
No, me neither.
I'll get like a ticket.
Me too.
That's why people have a negative connotation with HOAs.
But if everyone parked their cars in front of their houses, it would be chaos.
It would be chaos.
Now, I want to be able to do it every once in a while.
Correct, when I need to.
When I need to.
Yes.
But I also know we can't all just do it willy-nilly. There has to be rules.
There need to be rules, and nobody wants to do it. So if you're on the HOA and you're listening, it doesn't necessarily make you a bad person. I get why it exists. But it is a bit of a scam. But I do think you should go introduce yourself to your new neighbor. You guys probably aren't going to be. He's here. The good thing about him, if he's driving that van, I don't want to judge a book by its cover, but he's probably not going to wear you out about the Panthers defense.
That's a good point.
The Lakers, G League and stuff.
Good point.
It's just a guess.
Ben would love that, actually.
sports radio host.
Yeah,
No, I don't
all right,
really listen
see you later.
to sports
And
talk
you're like,
radio. And
what
I'm
do you do? I'm an artist. All right, well, see you later.
Yeah.
Like, you don't appreciate art in any form. Not in music, not in art, not in literature, nothing.
While we joked, you and I, Woods, about, oh, hey, so what do you think the Padres are going to do? Like, we just talked about it before. I don't want to talk about it now.
Right.
Ben would love that.
He would love it, actually.
If Van guy was a sports fan, he's like, so what do you think about the Lakers this season?
like, oh,
He'd
I
be
love
like,
it.
how much time you have?
I know, it's true.
Why don't we go for
should
coffee?
Introduce yourself, though, and then just to like, in case there's anything,
Well, just so I have something to report back on the show, I
Yeah.
think, at this point. So if
Yeah.
I see him when I get home, I'll go say,
give me that way. I want to see his art, too.
say hello. We do share like a backyard fence as well. Our dogs have chatted a little bit
That's
in the
good.
back between the fence. So, all right. Well, thank you for that advice, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
with
introduce yourself. It
with
won't
the
hurt you.
artist with the tie-dye van.
And please take a picture of the van
I
for
will
us,
take
because I want to
for
see
you
it.
when I get home. It'll be parked there when I get home.
And we'll
almost
give him
certainly.
a shout out, give him some free advertising.
He hasn't moved it all weekend. That was a little worrisome. Like, okay, are you going back and forth with this man, or is it just like
That's
advertising?
just for show. Just for show.
Just for show. All right, we'll come back. We've got John Sterling joining us at the bottom of the hour, counting on his Yankees to get the job done. Otherwise, the Dodgers are going to be World Series champions. That's coming up. First, quick check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
Hamul Casino. Fun above all else.
You've heard that expression. Be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. And I believe the WNBA has gotten everything they have ever dreamed of. Record ratings, record interest in the sport, superstars that are drawing more eyeballs than ever to women's basketball, and a very compelling season that had people talking incessantly, I mean, in numbers that they've never done before. Get to a championship series that goes the distance, goes overtime in the deciding Game 5 yesterday. And I was flipping back and forth between the baseball and the football and the WNBA. Kind of wanted to see how the season ended. And it ended like so many NBA seasons do as well, with an officiating controversy and a horrible call that probably decided the championship. I don't know how many people were watching. Woods, did you see any of it?
We were texting last night at the group thread, and you said, hey, there's a really good ending, but I did not flip over. I think Jesse Winker was up with the bases loaded, so I was like, oh, here I am having to root for Jesse Winker, which is not the coolest thing in the world.
Did he come through for you?
He did not.
He did not.
That's what I texted back. I was like, it really sucks rooting for Jesse Winker.
Said, yeah, here we are.
Well, the Mets are not
Sean
a fun
Manaea.
team really to cheer for.
No, I don't like a lot of. I love Lindor, but
I had given up on the Mets many games ago, so I wasn't even that disappointed. I just figured the Yankees were the last and best chance, so I just figured let's fast forward to the World Series. But the Minnesota Lynx and New York Liberty went to the deciding Game 5 at Barclays Center. Sold out crowd, Spike Lee, celebrities, all in attendance. And interestingly, it's the Lynx who are more of the juggernaut. They'd won 4 titles, looking for their 5th. That would have been the most all time. Liberty, one of the original WNBA teams, had never won a championship before. So they're going for their first. Lynx jump out to the early lead. Liberty come back in the fourth quarter, take the lead. It's back and forth. And it comes down 60-58. Lynx have the lead. Liberty with the ball at the end. Last chance to, tie it or take the lead. And they inbound the ball, and the clock is ticking, and they're running around. And I thought there was a clear missed traveling, or maybe 2 that could have been called against Breanna Stewart, that the referee swallowed their whistle, as tend to do with star players in big moments. It's not that surprising. We see it in the NBA all the time. But they can't find a good shot. Finally, all right, we're just going to get it into our star, Breanna Stewart. Let her do something with it. And she forces up a pretty bad-looking shot around the free throw line and gets bailed out with a foul call. Even though the defender looked like pretty straight up, didn't really see any contact, didn't initiate any contact. The Lynx, they are upset. They have a timeout, so they challenge it. Just like the NBA, you can go to the video review. They go to the review, which shows pretty much the same thing. It's a call. It's a play that you see 100 times in a basketball game, and maybe once you get a whistle on it. It really wasn't a foul, but it also wasn't overturnable. They go, is what it is. We're upholding the foul call. Send Stewart to the line. She hits both the free throws, and they go to overtime, where the New York Liberty then step up defensively. And the Lynx, they had their chance in overtime. They didn't make a single basket in OT. It was all about the defense, and the Liberty win. But the coach of the Minnesota Lynx, Cheryl Reeve, sounded kind of like an NBA coach after the game. We've heard it before from the NBA coaches. She had her moment in the post-game news conference.
I know all the headlines will be Reeve cries foul. Bring it on, right? Bring it on, because it was stolen from us.
Whoa.
Bring it on.
Yeah. I mean,
spicy.
She's not wrong. She's not wrong. It's very possible that a correctly officiated game, the other team would have won the championship in the rings. And that's going to happen.
So who won?
The Liberty won.
The first one.
The first one. But the Lynx probably should have won their 5th one. And that's going to happen over the course of a basketball season, a football season, a baseball season. There will be missed calls. Some of them will decide games even, and they're close. They could go either way, and it clearly, you have ball and strike calls, you have out and safe calls, you have foul calls, you have pass interference calls, and they decide games. Officials doing the best job that they can. It's just tough when it's a game 5 of a best-of-5 series, and it's a 2-point game at the end, and it's one of those that, do I call it? Do I not call it? And that really is the difference in the entire season to decide a championship based on a really questionable whistle that they gave the New York Liberty.
Yeah, and I say this as somebody that has yelled at umpires and stuff his entire life. At the end of the day, when you go home and sit back about a game that you lost and you feel like it was on the umpire, what do you usually say? Well, we had a chance there in the 6th. Could have gotten a hit there. We didn't. Oh, we ran into an out. Our pitcher decided to walk the bases loaded. I mean,
yeah, and the Lynx did. They had chances earlier in the game to extend their lead. They had chances in overtime. They didn't get it done.
In that moment, though, all you can think about is it's on you, dude. It's not on us. We played our asses off, and you called that ball and you called that strike, and it was clearly a ball. It was at the guy's eyes. It always comes back to we didn't execute well enough to win the game. You never want to leave it in their hands if possible, right? And oftentimes it does come down to that. And
but did the Liberty execute better, being down 2 at that point and needing a call to bail them out? Not really.
I know. It's the tough part.
Tough sell. But hey, you know what? Congratulations, WNBA. People are talking about it just like they would in the NBA if it came down to that. All right, we're going to take a timeout. When we come back, Paulie had to actually physically call John Sterling and talk to him on the phone, but he did set up the legendary Yankees radio broadcaster as his team gets ready to face the Dodgers in the World Series. John Sterling, when we come back with Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan. The evil empire against the eviler empire.
The evilest.
Is that what we've got for a word? I was doing my show last night on Channel 10, our Sports Extra show, and I had my tease, and I said, the World Series matchup is set, Padres fans, and you're not going to like it.
Yeah, you're just not going to like it.
It's just, there's no way around it. It's not a pleasant matchup.
No, unless you're a fan of one of those teams.
For Padres fans.
It's not, and especially if you're a Padres fan, it's just not a pleasant matchup.
If you are a casual baseball fan,
yeah,
or I live in Cincinnati. I kind of follow the Reds. I sort of like baseball. I don't watch it a ton. This is a perfect World Series for you.
Yeah,
there's star power, big markets, tons of attention. People will be talking about it. Shohei Ohtani is certainly an interesting story, starting with the big gambling controversy to open the season, all the way to the 50-50 club. Aaron Judge is a compelling, not a controversial guy, but certainly a larger-than-life, home run type hitter. Yes, there are plenty of storylines for this World Series. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I can. We spend a lot of time, here and talking Padres baseball, and Dodger fans they're something. They are something in our chat as we speak. So it's I know very clearly who I would say I can guess who everyone on this show is rooting for. How much are you going to watch? All of it? You going to watch all of it? Paulie, you going to watch any of it? All of it? Some of it?
It'll be on.
Yeah.
I'm not going to watch every pitch intently with the volume on, but it'll definitely be on second screen at the very least.
Yeah.
I appreciate that Dodgers fans are here. I hate that they're just here, to give a hard time to Padres fans necessarily. There's nothing wrong inherently with being a Dodgers fan.
No.
I'd like to think that we can do a fair-minded analysis of the Dodgers.
I think we have this postseason.
I think for the most part we
just
have.
to be clear, because I mentioned it off the air to you guys, it's Padres-related pain that is keeping me slightly disinterested, certainly in the NLCS and I'm guessing in the World Series. It has nothing to do with the Dodgers. It's the fact that the Padres, in my opinion, and we talked about it last week, choked it away. I feel like the Padres absolutely had a team worthy of getting ready to go to New York this weekend for Game 1 of the World Series. And had they choked 2 games to the Braves in the NLDS, and the Braves won, I still would be bitter taste in my mouth. It has nothing to do with the Dodgers, honestly.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough pill to swallow. But for me, the worst day of the year is after Game 7. And you got to wait for it to start again. And as much as I enjoy other sports, it's just nothing comes close for me. My greatest love is baseball outside of my family. So it's a hard one when it ends. I get very, very sad when the season ends. And I know who I'm rooting for. I'm rooting heavily against the Dodgers, man.
There are things the Dodgers do exceptionally well. Their plate discipline
Nasty.
And how they make opposing pitchers work all the way through their lineup. I know you can't really stand Max Muncy, just kind of as what he kind of seems to stand for or doesn't stand for as a player. But man, the guy's got a good eye at the plate. He will not swing at pitches out of the zone. It is tough to face the Dodgers lineup. It's very deep. It's a very challenging team to face. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, both teams are really special. They're really, really special players. It's going to be fun to see the guys that step up, and it's always the best part of the postseason, seeing who can. You've seen what Kike Hernandez has been able to do for the Dodgers. You've seen what, Teoscar Hernandez, who didn't do anything until, a couple big hits yesterday. I was watching that game yesterday, and I go, man, if friggin' Manny Machado hits one off the wall that he thought was a homer and he got a single out of it, next guy grounds him to double play. No question. Karma does not seem to exist right now.
John Smoltz wanted it to exist.
Oh, he wanted it bad.
He was really hoping Teoscar Hernandez would pay dearly.
Oh, yeah.
For Cadillacing out of the box.
He's not the only one. I also wanted the next hitter to ground into a double play because that would have been fun for my narrative, but of course not. Tommy Edman comes up, rips one, 2-run score, and they get bailed out.
Dodgers did a really good job at the trade deadline. I thought the Padres won the trade deadline, but in hindsight, the guys that the Dodgers picked up, Flaherty, Kopech, and Edman,
Pretty solid.
Have turned out to be really important contributors. I know Flaherty struggled in his last start.
Well, he was sick, man.
You know, they don't necessarily get to where they are without him.
Yep.
Kopech's been terrific.
He tried to cough it up. In the first inning. I mean, he was all over the place. He just could not capitalize.
And Edman obviously was the NLCS MVP. Although I would have given strong consideration to Blake Trinan, who has become he's always been a really good nasty relief pitcher when healthy, but he is at this time of the year since August, he's become completely unhittable, and that is a very good weapon for Dave Roberts to have in the postseason, knowing that there is so much movement on his pitches right now. It is practically unhittable. I mean, Padres couldn't touch him. Mets couldn't touch him. No one in the end of the regular season could touch Blake Trinan.
Yeah.
So they've got a lot of weapons. How do the Yankees win this series? We'll discuss that. We're hopefully getting a call back from John Sterling here.
I'm nervous now.
As we've said, he does the old let it go to voicemail, and then he calls you back. So we're just kind of waiting on that. Get to that in a second. This segment of Ben and Woods brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings. Buffalo Wild Wings is football, and B-Dubs is kicking off football season with 2 limited-time sauces. Try their new Buffalo Bacon Sauce for bold notes of smoky bacon, or get the fan-favorite hot barbecue before it's gone. Try them at your local B-Dubs, or order now for takeout and delivery with Buffalo Wild Wings. Go. More Ben and Woods coming up after traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is brought to you by the brand new Front Wave Arena in Oceanside. Couple problems in the North County, guys. Southbound 15 just past the 76. 3 vehicle crash in the center divide. They're all exchanging info. Please move over a lane if it's safe to do so. Again, that's in the center divide, South 15 past the 76. Then on the Felicita on-ramp to southbound 15, we report 2 vehicle accident over to the right shoulder. Got a crash on the Miramar Road off-ramp northbound 805. Also North 5 Coastline near La Jolla Village Drive. There is a collision. Everything's being moved over to the right shoulder. And Cordell and Cordell traffic cam shows a collision in the clearing stage on 11th Street on-ramp to northbound 163. The San Diego Clippers are ready for an exciting season at Front Wave Arena. The home opener on November 8th is Bill Walton Night, presented by Front Wave Credit Union. Join the fun as we celebrate Bill Walton and his legacy. You won't want to miss it. Grab your tickets at frontwavearena.com. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
So I don't think there necessarily is a clear path to victory for the New York Yankees. Obviously, they can win. They've got really good players. They've been playing well lately. But I think to beat the Dodgers, you kind of have to do what the Mets did. You have to win the games in which, they are not punting, but, they don't have their strongest bullpen arms available. You have to win those games because when they have their strong bullpen arms going, that's really tough. Especially the way the Dodgers have been scoring runs. You kind of need Giancarlo Stanton to stay as hot as he's been, which is going to be possible, but tough to do. He's been so hot. And you can't really have any let up from your other stars. And if they do all that, then, the Yankees have a chance. If any of those things don't happen, then the Dodgers probably take this series in my mind. Do you agree, Woods?
I do. I think there's a couple of X factors. Jazz Chisholm's got to get it going. He's got to hit.
That would help.
He's got to hit. Wells has got to get it going. The catcher for the Yankees as well.
If those guys got it going, and Gleyber Torres has done pretty well,
been really good. Top of the
then
order.
you could have a lineup that the depth would start to match what the Dodgers bring to the table.
Yeah, but what the Dodgers are going to employ they're going to employ that bullpen, that nasty ass bullpen of theirs, and how do you match up with Juan Soto, then Aaron Judge, then Giancarlo Stanton, right? You've got Anthony Banda, you got potentially Alex Vesia being added back to the roster. Do any of those guys scare you if you're Juan Soto or Aaron Judge or Giancarlo Stanton? No, they don't. And Gleyber at the top is dirty. I think you don't mess around, man. You got to go Gleyber, Soto, Judge, Stanton, and stop messing around with Wells in the cleanup. 1 through 4, go get them. And then if Jazz and Verdugo and guys like that at the bottom, Rizzo, they're going to have some lefties down there. Dodgers don't have a ton of lefties, so John Birdie, is going to they're going to need contributions from some of those guys at the bottom. But I think it's a pretty evenly matched thing, except for the bullpen. But again, you're going to have to use that bullpen so much. You just use them a ton. Well, not as much as you maybe should have if you're Dave Roberts. You're still going to have to use them a lot against the Yankees because you don't have starting pitching. I think the Yanks can take it, but I think the Dodgers are favored for a reason.
Yeah, and they have the home field advantage, which is not huge in baseball, but I do feel like Dodger Stadium, it doesn't play necessarily to the strength of the Yankees with their power hitters. Not the Judge, he's got power in every ballpark, can get it out for sure, but it's harder to hit like those opposite field home runs at Dodger Stadium. Ball doesn't carry, especially in October as well. Yankee Stadium's a great place to play, so to me, I would make the Dodgers minus like 140, 150 favorite. It's not overwhelming favorites, but a solid favorite to win the series in my mind. I don't know what the actual numbers are.
You looked, didn't you, or is that just for game one?
They're favorites in game one.
They're favorites in the series.
There are favorites in the series. Yeah, I think that's probably accurate.
Wild for underdogs like that to be the favorites in the series. I'm blown away.
Minus 130 odds for the Dodgers to win the World Series, plus 108 for the Yankees.
Okay, pretty
one.
even.
I said like 140 and 150, but it's not quite as much. But I think that's a fair assessment of where it kind of falls in my mind at this point.
Did you get in touch with John Sterling?
I did. I might have woken him up.
Oh.
He woke up very under the weather.
Oh,
he did not sound good.
Well, let's not make him jump.
And I said, don't
sweat it.
We'll do it another day.
Do it another day.
He gave me that's right. I'm so sorry.
God, 80-something years old.
I'm like, I was like, you know what?
Go back
Don't
to
worry
bed.
about it. Rest up. You're fine.
He's born in 1938. How old is that?
Wow.
Quickly.
84. 86. 86? 86.
Yeah, he's good.
Wow. Let him rest.
That's impressive, though. He sounds really good.
Sounds good.
On the air.
What to do now?
It's over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
1989 through 2024. That dude's calling games. So good.
Can you imagine Ben and Woods
No.
at age 86 still sitting here talking to each other in the morning?
I can't imagine us.
That damn Ken Rosenthal, I swear to God.
I can't imagine us at 56 still sitting here.
38 years from now.
No way.
Still on the radio.
If I'm still working then, dude, I did something incredibly wrong. Incredibly.
What are you going to do when you retire?
I'm going to sit on my ass. I'm going to do
Really?
Nothing.
I think John tried that for a couple of months. And you know what? It's not as fun as maybe you think it's going to be.
I think about it every day of my life. Of just doing nothing.
You feel like you're the retiring type.
I am. I've been retired up here for about 10 years. Okay? So, yeah, I'm going to have no problem in retirement. My wife's going to have a problem with me in retirement. Play some golf, gamble, do some things I love to do. Just relax. I don't need to work. I don't need to work any longer. I'm telling you, when it's over, it's over.
You like coming in here with us.
I do. For now. I won't
For now.
forever.
When is that going to stop? Why would it stop?
Just because you run out of stories, man. You run out of stories.
There's always new stories. That's the beauty of stories.
I get bored easily with things. So,
Wally, how are we going to keep him from getting
entertained.
bored with us?
You better entertain me.
I mean, what, seven years now, almost?
Balsamic Vinny says, you're going to retire by hippie van. No, he's never going to retire. He's never, ever going to retire. I don't want to be the cautionary tale. I've told you guys. I don't want to be, hey, guys, it's Woodsy. Let's talk some Padres at 70 years old. No interest in it. I want to do other things. I got other interests.
I don't know. I always thought people like Jerry Coleman, who talked baseball for their entire lives, was kind of cool.
It is for them.
It's a cool way to be.
Yeah, I'll still talk
something
baseball.
to
Morning
aspire
radio
to.
and being the voice of a major league team.
It's a little
bit different.
It's a little different. 4 hours is hard. It's hard. It's
Well,
daunting.
I mean, it may evolve at some point.
Sure.
We may not always be on the mornings. We may not always be on the radio. We've got this community, though. I mean, Paulie was talking to us about trying to expand to TikTok at some point. Apparently, we need to get more TikTok followers.
Yeah, we need like 9,000
so we can start streaming
more.
live on TikTok. That could be the next thing for us.
Ben and Woods 69 on TikTok.
Is that really what it is? Oh, it is. Yeah, Ben and Woods 69.
Well, I don't know what happened. 1 through 68 were all taken.
So.
All the other Ben and Woodses had already taken the first 68 TikTok handles.
Yeah.
That's why we just were randomly assigned the 69th TikTok handle by TikTok.
Yeah, there was a Seinfeld episode that summed it up. George and Jerry went in, and Jerry was just over it. Like he had reached a point, and George comes in and he starts complaining about something nonsensical that really is not that big a deal. And Jerry just puts his hands in his face like this. He just goes, "That's it. I got to make some changes." He gets engaged, and that's how I feel sometimes. Where I'm just like, all right, we're rolling. Like let's keep it rolling. But I don't know, man. Like maybe it's the end of the season where you're kind of sad. Then you did that story about what the UT said about the Padres payroll, and it feels a little daunting. Yeah, man. I really thought, honestly, you guys, just so you know, had we won the World Series, I was done. That was it for me. I was walking away. Just so you know, that was it.
Well,
I was going to go do something else.
That's kind of the silver lining. Now I'm kind of glad the Padres didn't win the World Series.
I told Hannah, I go, if they win the World Series, you know how hard it is for me to come in December and be like, all right, so what are we doing next year? I go, I may just call it. Go right out on a high note. I really want a high note at my career, at the end of my career.
All right. Well, so I want the Padres to get good, but not
not that
too
good. Ben's like, yes, they lost again.
Always on the verge, never quite there, just to keep Woods at the end of that rope.
The end of my rope.
Just coming back for another year. Oh, they're so close, Woods. You can't,
right. I can't
you
leave
can't
now.
retire this year. I mean, they got so close this last year.
So funny.
Don't give up now.
I wouldn't have, but I told her, I go, you know how hard it's going to be to go in if they win a World Series? Like,
I mean, John Sterling's waited 15 years. He said, I can't miss this
15.
one. I got to come back. There's a chance that they get this one this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Then he says, the round table, the high note for you. Yeah, I'm out. This is my final round table. I walk away. Oh, man. Now, so I'm bummed that we don't get to talk to him, but I also don't want to make an 86-year-old man get on the phone if he doesn't feel well either.
That's probably good sound advice, sage advice.
What a sweet guy, dude. Just sweet, sweet man. So did he come out of retirement? Like, did he say, I'd like to call the games? Did they say,
I was going to ask him how it kind of worked.
Did they approach him or did he approach
Because he did. They gave him the TV on the field. They had his last game, like, early in the season.
Yeah, the TV.
Aaron Boone, like, hauled it out of the dugout.
No, it was like some random guys, like, bringing him out. It was like some players, like, dragging it out of the clubhouse. Oh, they asked him, Adam says, okay. Yeah, that's great. That's great. They said, come on back and do it. He said, sure, I'll do it. Probably like riding a bike for him.
It's kind of nice. You skip the whole grind of the season and just slide right in for the playoffs.
Yeah, it's great.
Now, whoever you replace, that's kind of not great
kind
for them.
Kind of a bummer for them, but...
I mean, I had to do the whole year, and now the playoffs are here. And
you're out, bud.
This old guy's just coming and
you
bumping me back out.
You have to play the role of,
of
course. Oh, absolutely.
Oh, it's
He's
an honor.
got to do it. It's an honor to concede to the great John Sterling.
Take my place. We'll come back. Paulie's got a Rindle report for us, including some San Diego State basketball news and more, all next year on 97.3 The Fan. Woods, I've got good news for you. The NBA season opens tomorrow. I know you've been eagerly anticipating months and months. Just every morning I get here and you go, is it NBA season yet?
Almost.
And I go, not yet, Woods.
I can't wait. We should do a bit tomorrow where we pick who finishes where.
Oh, like predictions. Like prognostications for the NBA season.
Like we did for baseball. Did we ever figure out who had the best?
I did.
Who had the best? Who picked the most accurately for the baseball season? We did.
I know I did.
We did it preseason.
The worst.
You did the worst?
I think I did the worst.
Did he really? No way.
We did division winners.
Now I had didn't I have the Tigers making the playoffs? I feel like I had the Tigers making the playoffs.
You'd be the one person on the planet.
You had them. Well, it was order in division.
Right.
So you picked them finishing first in the Central.
You did.
So I had them making the playoffs. I was right about that.
That's a really good pick.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, it doesn't count.
Doesn't count.
Because you picked them first.
Right. That counts as a loss for me, even though it's astute and insightful observation. Because the Guardians surprised me.
Yeah.
I didn't actually get any credit for that pick.
That's true.
Yeah. I don't know. Paul's methodology here may be
somewhat
flawed.
Which happens. We need the Ken Palm analysis of how it went.
Woods and I both correctly picked 10 teams where they would finish in their divisions.
That's pretty good.
Ben picked 9.
That's pretty good, too.
You did much better on the West Coast, Ben. You got 3 correct in the American League and National League West.
Well, I'm
divisions.
more of a West Coast guy.
That's true.
The Central, NL Central, you did not get 1 correct pick.
But again,
NL East did not get 1 correct pick.
Let's go.
AL Central, you got 1 correct pick, and it was the White Sox.
Yes, but I feel like my Tigers pick should be worth something.
It should. I'll give you an extra one.
Any credit at all.
You didn't pick just the playoff teams.
I know.
You picked division in order, top to bottom. And, we all.
I think tomorrow Woods should predict what the 6 divisions in the NBA actually are.
Oh, what they are?
Can you even tell me? Like, can
I
you
don't
give
want to play
me the
this game right now. I don't want to play this game.
One of the divisions.
What do you mean?
30 NBA teams. How many can Woods name?
I can name all the teams.
I want to know. Do you know what the names of the NL West, NL East? You know that. AFC South, AFC North.
Sure.
You know that. What are the NBA divisions called?
The West and the East.
There's no West. There is no East division in the NBA.
What are they?
That's what I'm asking you.
My memory.
That's what I'm asking you.
What are you talking about?
There are in the Western Conference.
Oh, the Western Conference.
Yes, has 3 divisions.
Oh,
you almost got it.
Pacific?
Yes, the Pacific Division.
The Atlantic.
The Atlantic is in the Eastern Conference. Very good. All right, you got the 2.
The Central.
There is in the East. There is a Central Division.
That makes no sense. In the East, there is a Central Division.
Yes, there is.
The Atlantic.
You already said that one.
The North.
There is no North.
The South.
There is no South.
The Northeast.
There is no Northeast.
The Northwest.
There is a Northwest.
Northwest. Just give them to me.
To be fair, nobody.
All right. The West is the Pacific, the Southwest and the Northwest. The East is the Atlantic,
Divisions
the Central,
mean
and the
nothing, though.
Southeast.
They literally mean nothing in the
don't.
NBA.
They really don't.
It's just a conference.
There's some geography involved, obviously, but they just want to split up 5 teams in each division, and that's how they did it.
Who's the favorite?
The Celtics are probably as the returning champions.
Jaylen Brown,
the betting favorite. Yeah. Jason Tatum.
Jason Tatum, of course, obviously.
The Knicks had a very active offseason with trades, and people are excited about that team. But you still have guys like
they just got Karl Anthony Towns.
Giannis coming back with the Milwaukee Bucks. Still got baseball in the brain.
Do you like how the NBA does it, where it's just you have 15 teams on each side? No division champions matter. And it's just the top 8.
Top 8. I think that's good.
Baseball.
Now they got weird with the in-season tournament, the play-in tournament, but all that. But just the way it used to be.
I think if you win your division, you get in, though. Even if you finish 9th, you would get in if you won your division, but you'd be the last ranked team. It's not like, a wild card team can have 100 wins, but you're still seated below the division winner that won 86 games.
Right.
They don't do that in the NBA.
I kind of like that.
I kind of like it too.
I do too.
And I'm down to do a reseed next year. They could.
I would.
They could mix
baseball.
it up in
I think
baseball a little bit. Yeah.
I don't know why you wouldn't.
I don't know why you wouldn't either.
Seems. yes, when you had the way unbalanced schedule, you're not playing nearly as many of the same games. Now that you've got more of a balanced schedule, you could more legitimately kind of compare teams' records and reseed them. So,
yeah, I like that.
All right, we'll have our full NBA preview. Woods' NBA preview tomorrow.
I mean, if I make you do the mock draft, I should have to do the NBA preview.
Yeah.
It's
right now,
only fair.
Right now, Paulie's got a Roundel report.
And get things started here with our today's edition of the Roundel Report.
Now tuned into the greatest.
Welcome to the Reindl Report with Paul Reindl.
Hi, Paul.
All right.
2 stories from the world of sports that we haven't gotten to yet.
We'll start off in Major League Baseball.
And 1 story that you didn't know you needed.
Are you laughing, biatch?
It's the Reindl Report.
Hey, Paul, how you doing?
Okay, how are you?
On 97.3 The Fan.
Are you ready to bless the mood? I need some help, please.
That was good.
Can I get a yeah? Oh, yeah.
All right, gentlemen, let's start in the NFL. Very wild scene yesterday in Cleveland, and it just kind of went on throughout the day. Of course, you probably saw Deshaun Watson left the game for Cleveland with an injury, and it took one replay to know, yep, that's an Achilles injury.
Yeah,
and,
they have it's always so gnarly because on the slow-mo, there's like
I don't like it.
It's like a guitar string snapping, and it's got this big reverberation. It's gnarly.
He was seen carted off. He was in tears on the cart, and his season is over. That's been confirmed. It was a season-ending ruptured right Achilles. And then you saw the fans in Cleveland celebrating, which was controversial, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly sparked a lot of conversation.
Myles Garrett talked about it at the podium. Jameis Winston talked about it after the game, and it just kind of turned into this big talking point, celebrating the injury of a guy like Deshaun Watson. We haven't talked about this yet.
Right.
I'm curious what you guys thought.
I thought that the comments after the game from the players,
They kind of have to say what they said, don't they?
Okay, to a certain extent. Hey, that's our teammate, and we're pulling for him.
That's a bad spot to be in.
Well, and what the Haslams did by signing Deshaun Watson after everything that came out, after all of those lawsuits came out, to put the fans in that position.
You gave this guy $250 million.
$250 million. Yeah, and I'm telling you, man, the stories about Deshaun Watson, the lawsuits from those women, none of those guys spoke up about that, right? So you can give a statement. You don't have to praise this guy. You don't have to praise him as a, quote, model citizen. You don't have to if you're Jameis Winston and you go up there and you say, man, this guy has been hated by everybody. It's been him against the world for his own doing. It's like, where's the responsibility there? You know, I thought it was really, kind of gross how they spoke out about him.
It's never okay to cheer for a player getting
You
hurt.
don't have to cheer for him getting hurt. You don't have to actually raise your voice and cheer.
This was as close as it's ever been to being okay
Fair
for
enough.
a fan base cheering for one of their own players to get
Fair
hurt.
enough.
And it's not just simply the off the field stuff.
Well, the guy
and the contract, but it's also what seemed painfully obvious is that there was also a mandate that Kevin Stefanski had to play him.
Correct.
And it's like, how do we get out of this? There's only one way, and that is if he gets hurt. And so I understand the at least relief as a fan base you're probably feeling if you're a Cleveland Browns fan, because it was becoming hard to cheer for your own team. And his injury has freed you up a little bit to maybe enjoy your team a little bit more.
Yeah.
And that's on the Browns for even putting their fans in that situation.
Crazy.
But I can understand the emotional
release
of, okay, he's
That's
not.
a weird word
we don't
to
have
use
to
when you're talking about Deshaun Watson.
We don't have to worry about him at least the rest of this season.
Right.
It's not like he's going to be traded now or ever, and you're still paying him, and you can't really do anything about it.
24 women. 24 sexual misconduct and harassment during massage therapy sessions. $5 million fine, I mean, he should not have been in the league to begin with. And the fact that not only was he in, they didn't sign him on a prove-it deal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
there was no.
It was like, no, it's fine.
There were no fail-safes.
No,
there were
no
fail-safes. You just thought if anyone,
worst contract in sports history.
like if
No
someone
question.
was ever going to get an absolute guaranteed quarterback deal, Patrick Mahomes would be a great option.
Of course.
Right.
Of course.
Deshaun Watson, worst option possible to give the completely guaranteed we can't get out of this no matter what.
And they
deal.
traded for him. They traded for him.
And
You know,
then
all
gave-
this
and
stuff,
then
and then
gave him the deal.
It's just, it's maddening. And I think Adam says, how can you enjoy the team when they're still horrible? You enjoy the team a little bit more because you're used to them being horrible in Cleveland. You're used to that.
They weren't horrible
but now
last
you
year,
don't
though.
have to root for
They
that
weren't horrible
guy.
at all. They have some decent players. They have a decent coach. They're not doomed to be horrible. But Watson was definitely not helping.
Yeah.
Not helping.
In more ways than just on the field, certainly. I did not. I thought that was so short-sighted of Winston and Myles Garrett.
Yeah, Myles Garrett said, "We don't boo guys that are injured on the field, especially when the cart comes out. We should be ashamed of ourselves as Browns and as fans to boo anyone and their downfall."
Yeah. Carlos says, we all judge Bauer as well. Look, he was found innocent. No, he was not. He was never found innocent of anything, man. Never. Never. So, again, you put your team in you put your fans, who you're supposed to be doing it for, in a tough position, by having to root for guys like that. We already make a lot of concessions with players and people that we root for and put our heart and soul in. But in that guy's case, man, it's crazy.
All right, we'll move on. Beginning of this segment, we had some fun with Basketball Woods.
He's right here.
Big NBA fan.
Love it.
It's all tongue in cheek. We get that. But you have become an SDSU basketball fan.
have.
You watched a lot last season.
More than ever.
And we do have a little bit of news here for the Aztecs as their season gets ready to start here shortly. They had a closed-door scrimmage yesterday against top 25 team in UCLA, who is preseason ranked number 22 in the nation. And the Aztecs were without four.
No Nick Boyd, no Reese Waters, just two of the top players that were not suited up for this.
They had 3 or 4 guys that were not suited up at all. But
Any
they still
reasoning
won.
behind that?
Well, Nick Boyd's still recovering.
Injuries.
He had a boot all summer. He's finally getting it off, and he's supposed to play next time. I forget why Reese Waters wasn't there, but they should both be ready for the start of the season, which is good.
Well, the good news is even without them, San Diego State won 72-67. Sophomore B.J. Davis had 28 points. He went 6 for 7 from 3-point. And then reports were Pharaoh Compton's defense is ridiculous. Magoon Guap had a good night as well. So very positive, closed-door scrimmage, no highlights to view. But if you're just reading the box score and what was reported on from people that were there, pretty good start to the year for the Aztecs.
Very interesting that the Aztecs could go into Pauley Pavilion, I believe. And yes, UCLA was playing all their bench warmers and everything, so it's not a real game. So the win-loss doesn't matter. But the fact that they were that competitive against what is expected to be a top 25 team tells me that Brian Dutchers knows what he's doing still, and the Aztecs are going to be pretty good. This is what I love about college basketball. Remember last year, and Jaden LeDee, he's a good, strong player. You didn't see him being the power forward of the year in college basketball and scoring over 20 points a game, right? Well, B.J. Davis, not a guy I had given much thought to. You know how many points he scored last season? 14.
Wow.
All season.
Total.
He had 28 against the Bruins yesterday in one game. Now, that doesn't mean he's the next Jaden LeDee, but this is how it works with Dutcher's teams especially. You play your role. You learn how to play defense,
and then you get your chance.
When you get your chance,
you shine.
He trusts you.
Yeah,
and
it's great.
And Dutch said, he didn't really do anything other than he was open and he made his shots. He wasn't forcing anything, but hey, they got him the ball. He was open. He hit his shots. This is what the Aztecs do, and they've done it really well, especially under Brian Dutcher, which makes me think they'll probably do it pretty well this season under Brian Dutcher.
Bro, talk about a team that's just easy to root for. The Aztecs are an easy team to root for with Brian Dutcher at the helm. You don't have to worry about any of the stuff that we were just talking about. Just an easy team to root for.
All right, and then finally, keeping it a little bit sportsy here, but kind of funny and bizarre scene in college football. I'm talking about Arizona State. Now, they are in the Big 12 this year. They are 5-2 overall, 2-2 in conference play.
The best. Well, no, Colorado's doing pretty well too, actually, in the Big 12.
They are 3-1 in conference.
Yeah.
Arizona State's right in the middle of the pack. There's not 12 teams, actually. It's the Big 16, I guess. But they are right in the middle there. But they have gone 3 straight games now without a made field goal. The kicking scene has been very rough for the Sun Devils. And it happened again yesterday. They did not have any field goals. And their coach, Kenny Dillingham, had a post-game news conference. And he had this to say when asked about the kicking woes for the Sun Devils.
You can be aggressive, but just because you convert doesn't guarantee that you make it one possession. So you would hope that you can make, a kick, one of those, but our kicking game's atrocious. So if you can kick and you're at Arizona State, email me, right? We're going to have kicking tryouts on Monday. So bring it on, kicking tryouts Monday. Let's go. Yeah, I'm dead serious. We're going to put it out on our social. We're going to have a kicking tryout on Monday.
This guy's the head
We got to
coach?
find somebody who can make a field goal. It makes it even harder, like late in games when it's clearly a kick scenario. That's when it gets really hard.
He looks like Braden.
It's clearly a kick. Like, you definitely want to take points here. There's no doubt in your mind. And he hadn't had a kick this game. He was kicking good pregame, so I felt good about it. But, it is what it is. Like, we got to do a better job getting him in the better mental state to kick. But at the same token, I got to do a job, and I got to get guys on the field that can perform in those situations as well.
Holy cow.
What's his name?
Kenny Dillingham?
Kenny Dillingham. How old is he? He looks like 26.
14. 14 years old. He's a wonderkind, as they say.
I don't know how old
I mean,
34.
Herm Edwards
my
did
age.
not leave that program under really good situation with every NCAA violation in the book.
No
they
kidding.
hit Arizona State with.
Kevin says Arizona State's quarterback is named Sam Levitt. So
That is true, with an A.
With an
It's in Elite Levitt, but just Sammy Levitt.
Yeah, so Ian Hershey is their kicker. He missed from 48 and 41 on their final 2 drives of the game yesterday. They lost 24-14.
Well, there's got to be like a player on the soccer team or the women's soccer team.
Yeah, 100%.
Probably kick a field goal
Now,
for Arizona
Dillingham
State.
was criticized for those comments like, wow, you really just threw that kid under the bus,
Yeah.
your kicker. I mean, he was talking about the kicking game, but it's one guy, and everyone knows that. And he did apologize later. He posted on social media, I would like to apologize in my post-game press conference. I talked about our kicking game like I do offense and defense. However, the kicking game is always directed at one player. I should not have done that, and I apologize. The team's losses will always 100% fall on myself, but I believe from what I've seen this morning, they're still following through with open tryouts. If you are a student at ASU and have eligibility and can kick a field goal, you're invited to come try out.
I do apologize. We are still having the tryouts, though, just so you know. Trying to think of a position on the tier 1s I can call out Paulie and rip openly and then be like, we are still going to have a tryout at some point.
when it goes, kicking is mental. It's like a golf swing. Like, you've got it, and then when you lose it, it's gone. I mean, look at Greg Zerline.
Greg the Leg.
Best kickers. Is he Legatron or he was?
He's Greg the Leg.
He's Greg the Leg.
Yeah.
Can't make a kick anymore. It's like 7 of his last 12.
Was he also Legatron? Who was Legatron?
Oh, so Justin Tucker is he's really
Zerline.
good. He was Legatron, Legatron. He's 0 for 1 from long range, 1 for 3 from 40 to 49, just 4 of 6 from 30 to 39 this year. And it goes, and it's hard to get it back if you're a kicker who's kind of out of his mental space. So
the mental part of all sports is like 90% of it. It really is.
I mean, you get the yips. The yips are a real thing.
Yips are real.
But I feel like in football, kicker's probably the most likely position to get the yips.
Yes.
And it's got to be one of the toughest to fix. Quarterbacks don't just forget how to throw
Correct.
a football.
Correct.
Like, running backs don't forget to hold on to the football.
Yeah.
They might have struggles, but like, you've seen kickers where like, they can't get anywhere close right now. They are just not there.
yeah, it's more like golf than football when you're a kicker. It's a swing, and when you've got it dialed in, you can't miss. It's like down the middle. And you lose it, you hook one, guess what happens on the next one? You slice it. You just keep trying to correct back and forth, and all of a sudden those goalposts get, just like the fairway gets narrower and narrower, those goalposts get tighter.
Thankless job.
Tony made me laugh. He says, you got to be kidding me. actually are talking about. I saw this weekend. They're actually talking about narrowing the goalposts in the NFL because kickers have gotten so good for the most part. It's such an automatic that they're gonna maybe get
the NFL.
Yeah, in the NFL, just slide them in a little bit, make that thing a little narrower. Yeah.
All right, go to break.
All right, we'll come back. We have those tickets for Social Distortion to give away because Woods won Take on Woods. So I get an opportunity for the Tier 1s when we come back after a check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
Hamul Casino. Fun above all else. Hamul Casino. Fun above all else.
Don't forget, we are leading up to the Padres A.J. Preller end-of-season news conference at 11 o'clock this morning. That'll be during the Annie and Elston program, so make sure you stay tuned. They'll kick things out live to A.J.'s question and answer session. Now, occasionally, and I'm not expecting this, but sometimes when you host one of these, it's nice when you have something to announce, to frame, say, the stories. You kind of force the writers and their headlines. Oh, here's what A.J. Preller brought to the table, as opposed to just, the questions and answers. You can kind of get things started. Do you think that A.J. Preller will have anything to announce in today's Zoom news conference? And if he did, what would it be?
Like Kevin Acey's newsletter or story later this afternoon, Padres expected to spend big this offseason, A.J. Preller says.
Right.
Like, what will that
Which
headline be?
He's not going to say. And in order to avoid the headlines, A.J. doesn't disclose much as Padres head into offseason of uncertainty, which is probably what you're going to get. You could come to the table with a little bit of news.
It's going to be another offseason of uncertainty, isn't it?
It is. So the only thing that I could think of that they could have gotten done in the last, few days would be a Mike Schilt contract extension.
Yeah, potentially.
To me, that's kind of, you don't have to do it, but it's something that is logical, fairly simple, probably something both parties are interested in.
Sure.
And could reasonably have gotten done in the last couple of days without leaking out to the media yet. Like, okay, yeah, over the weekend, you finish it, you sign your deal, and AJ gets to announce something like that this morning. I'm not anticipating that, but if there was any announcement, probably would be along those lines.
And this is just AJ, right? Just AJ.
I believe
Preller.
it's just AJ.
Okay.
There wasn't.
He was the only one listed.
Yeah, if Schilt really has a contract extension, he may get his own.
Yeah.
At some point. Again, it's not urgent. They have him under contract for another year.
Right.
You could do that later in the offseason. You could do it at spring training, whenever. I don't think it's something that is like the clock is ticking on an extension. But if you were looking to have something to announce.
How about a Kyle Higashioka extension?
See, if I'm Kyle, though,
I'm waiting.
Why am I signing now before I hit free agency? I put up my numbers.
Jackson Merrill extension.
You could have something like
Ruben
that, but
Niebla.
that would be pretty big.
Now Janine says, and I love Janine. She's very blunt. She says, unless he gets the team to apologize for how they rolled over in the last two games, there's nothing I want to hear. I'm still mad.
I don't know
get
that he's going to
too.
say.
I don't think so
that.
either. My guess is just an educated guess.
We know AJ a little bit.
Yeah.
Don't think he's going to go there.
Here's the thing. The questions that I want to ask AJ Preller are not meant for a Zoom call. They're not. They're not meant for.
Well, I want to hear them. Can you save them?
Yeah, I'll save
you
them.
do it in our last segment.
Sure.
I want to know the non-Zoom friendly questions that I
really want to know.
That you really want to know, but you're not going to get the answers to.
Yep.
And you won't be called on to ask them either.
Correct. It's not the right forum for it.
I get it.
I
get it. But like the real skinny.
Yeah, 100%.
You want the tea.
I don't even necessarily want the tea. I want details. I want details,
All right.
and I'll tell you what they are.
All right, I'm looking forward to that. Before we do that, I have a chance to win some tickets to Social Distortion. The show is sold out Friday, December 20th at the Observatory North Park. Great smaller venue. We got a pair of tickets up for grabs. Be the fourth caller right now at 833-288-0973. You can win those tickets that were not won during Take on Woods today. 833-288-0973. You can have a chance to win some on Take on Woods tomorrow, I believe. But call now for your chance to win from 97.3 The Fan. We'll be right back. Congratulations to David. Wins the Social Distortion tickets. Have another pair to give away tomorrow, either in Take on Woods or later in the program if the gods of Take on Woods see fit to allow a victory or not a victory for Woods tomorrow. You and I, Woods, have a bit of a fantasy football matchup going into tonight's games.
No one cares. Nobody.
Nobody cares?
No.
I do.
I don't even care.
I do.
And I'm playing you.
I know. We're separated by 3 points.
Yeah.
You've got Zay Flowers
Love
of
Zay
the
Flowers.
Ravens. I've got Marvin Harrison Jr. of the Cardinals. They're not playing
He's still
against.
just going.
He's just going to go.
They're not playing against each other. We actually have 2 Monday Night Football games. Now, were we carrying one of them here, Paulie?
We are. We have the
Ravens and the Bucks. That's the main game
That's
at
the good
5:15. That's the good one.
That's a good one.
That's the one that's on ABC and ESPN. And then there's the Chargers Cardinals game, which is only on ESPN Plus.
Right.
So you need the the Disney bundle if you're going to get a chance to watch that game.
Okay.
So those are your 2 options tonight. Double the Monday Night Football. And,
I'm going to a concert tonight.
Are you?
I am.
Really?
We're
On a
stepping
Monday?
out on a Monday.
On a Monday.
It's insane behavior on my part.
And you haven't even told everybody. You're also stepping out on Wednesday this week.
Yeah, I'm going to Disneyland. My kids are on fall break,
Yes.
which is a bit of a...
After they got through the old half days
Yes,
last week,
yes.
now they have the 0 days this week.
Yeah, just getting parents ready. We're gonna mildly inconvenience you this week, and then we're gonna really inconvenience you.
Monday night concert.
Yeah, Belly Up, band called Not a Surf. We play them on our bumper music club. Blizzard of '77. You know that song.
Blizzard of '77.
We play it.
I was only 2 during the Blizzard of '77.
That's what's I. But they're playing, so I've already done the recon, right? So I looked at what time they come on. I'm going to time it out perfectly. They lead off with one of my favorite songs, and their 7th song is my favorite song.
And then you can leave.
And then I can leave. So I'm probably going to go 1 through 7 tonight.
So
I figure I'll be back
assuming
in...
songs average about 5 minutes, then you really only are going to be there for 35 minutes.
It's a little longer.
Okay.
A little longer. But I think I'll be home in bed, ready to go to sleep by 10, which is fine. Which is 9:30.
What style of music is this?
We play it all the time.
Well, I just don't know which one it is.
It's like...
Did they sing like "In the Blizzard of '77"?
You just sang it.
I did.
Yeah, that's that song. Yes, they sing and they play instruments and stuff.
Yeah, but what style?
Rock and roll. Yeah.
Paulie's looking for it. And they're tonight on a Monday.
On a Monday.
Not necessarily the prime night of the week for headliners.
Well, we're San Diego. That's what we get. We get Mondays, Tuesdays,
Probably in LA this
Wednesdays.
weekend. This past weekend is my guess.
Playing the Wiltern on Friday and Saturday, I'm sure. But hey, listen, this is the lot we've been given here in San Diego. But somebody wants to know, what is fall break? That is a break during school where they just send your kids home from school.
We talked about this.
And you have to find something to do with them.
And then later, tripping in 7-Eleven.
Yeah, you know this one. Yeah. They're such a good band, such a tight band, friendly dudes too. So I'm excited to go see them tonight. But again, I'm doing 45 minutes max, and as soon as they play one of my favorite songs, I'm probably going to walk out the door.
We talked about fall break last week.
Mm-hmm.
It's because school starts so early now, like in mid-August, they needed to make up those days because you don't go to school more days than you used to, even though you start earlier. So they just give them more time off during the year, including a week off in October called fall break.
And
it's kind of the opposite of spring break, which they also get.
Well, the thing is like I can't decide. Do I want them home? Because I was ready for those dudes to start school. Being a morning show host is a little different. It's not, I don't get to go work, come home at 6. Hey, how we doing? Good to see you. All right, good night. Like at 10:30, I'm full duty all day, every day during the summer. And so, which is great. I mean, I love spending time with my kids, but also you're like, all right, I'm ready to get you back in school. Let's get back on our modes here. And now with this break, you gotta find something for them to do every single day. So,
you're going to the concert with them tonight.
I'm going solo tonight.
Oh, okay.
I'll be throwing batting practice in about 50 minutes, by the way, in the middle of the street, I'm sure.
And then you're handing them off at some point.
Yeah, tonight.
So just by yourself to the concert?
Yeah, just going to go and watch 7 songs.
Is general admission?
Yeah, it's belly up.
Yeah.
So,
you can get the balcony
I'm
tickets.
not sitting in the balcony, for the love of God. It's
Well,
Monday night.
I like sitting in the
Well, I do
balcony.
too, but it's I get it. Not every district has a fall break, but they have one. And we're scrambling
I promise
furiously.
you that your kids go to school the exact same number of days that all other kids in California
I'm not sure.
go.
I'm not
It's
sure. I feel like they get a lot of
state-mandated.
I feel like they get a lot of breaks.
Now, they may start later, earlier, whatever, but ultimately they'll go the same number of days.
You say that, but I'm just not sure.
I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
When I go, I'm still blown away because I'm very lucky. My wife makes her own schedule in real estate, and I have this, and I'm off early. So it's no problem for me. None. I'm never inconvenienced.
You say
other
she makes
than-
her own schedule, but in real estate, they have some pretty hard and fast, like
But she has-
open houses on the weekends.
She has partners that can handle things
Yeah.
on the week. During the week, how does somebody that works at, Geico?
What does she do during the week? Because not that many people are house hunting during the week. It's a lot of things that are done on the weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's some, but it's probably pretty rare.
Well, you have to go to. Some people
set
want
up
to
those
set up
weekend
things and
viewings.
and deal with clients and
Paperwork, obviously,
Right.
is probably big.
But my question is, how does somebody that does like a 9 to 5, what do they do? What do they do this week? Where their kids are like, I'm home. I'm 7. I'm
they have
home.
to use their vacation.
I guess
this week.
I guess a lot of people are taking trips, and they go on family trips. I did not do that. We are taking Wednesday off. We're taking the kids to Disneyland. So
Enterprising people will set up camps for this week
Yeah,
where you
smart.
can put your basically kids in at the time they'd be in school, and you just send them off to camp.
Yeah.
During the week.
It's tough, dude. It's tough. I really sympathize for those people that don't have the type of gigs that we do. Cousinator says, "Yeah, we stress out during that. How do you break away every single day?" So, I'll be going home to throw BP.
All right, Woods has the real questions that he knows that he can't ask AJ Preller coming up at 11 o'clock.
Well, you tell me if I can ask.
All right, we'll get to that right after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Valvoline Instant Drive-Thru Oil Change, your trusted instant drive-thru oil change. You guys were wrapping things up pretty nicely until this accident blocking middle lanes. West 52, right before the 805. Got a couple vehicles involved. Looks like emergency crews are already on scene. Checking out that one. That's West 52 for the 805. Also, stalled car partially blocking the Oceanside Boulevard off-ramp of northbound 5. Stop by any of the 30 San Diego Valvoline Instant Oil Change centers. You don't have to get out of your car, and it usually only takes 15 minutes or less. Plus, get a free courtesy check of your tires and battery. Visit SoCalOilChange.com for directions and discounts. SoCalOilChange.com. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
This segment of Ben and Woods brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings. Buffalo Wild Wings is football B-dubs. Kicking off football season with 2 limited-time sauces. Try their new Buffalo Bacon Sauce for bold notes of smoky bacon, or get the fan-favorite hot barbecue before it's gone. Try them at your local B-dubs or order now for takeout and delivery with Buffalo Wild Wings. Go. Do have the question, what age can you start leaving your kids just at home on their own?
It's a good
now,
question.
yours are much too young.
Much too.
6 and 4. That's not going to work.
No.
I see a lot of 12,
I was gonna say,
13.
it was probably 10, 11, 12.
It was like 10?
Somewhere in that.
10, 11?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
I
a good
think
spot.
I think, when you get to like 10 or 11, an hour, like I have to go to the grocery store, and you know what? You don't have to come with me. You can,
Like my
But,
mom,
like,
my
all
mom worked
day-
till 5 o'clock every day.
Mine did too,
So
both mine.
when I got out of school at 2:30 or 3 o'clock, whatever it was,
Take the bus home.
Yeah, or
You're
I'd get a
solo.
ride with somebody else's mom or whatever. They drop me off, and then it's like, okay, you're on your own for 2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a little bit different than all day.
yeah, all
Yeah.
day.
Summer-
I'd say a little older.
Like summer, you got to be 10, 11, or probably 11 or 12. You got to be mobile too. You got to, ride a bike or whatever, like so that you can go do stuff. But it's
Plus, I was by myself, so that was a little bit different than like when Bo's 11, Taylor's still only 8.
right.
Like Bo by himself at 11 is one thing.
He's got to
Bo
watch.
watching 8-year-old Taylor would be a little bit different.
Bo came in yesterday. Goes, Dad, Taylor's lighting things on fire, and I go, excuse me. So I run in. I'm looking for him, and I go, what are you talking about? And I'm looking around, and I'm like, he doesn't know how to use a lighter, I don't think. And I'm like, Bo, what are you talking about? Hannah had lit a candle,
Right.
and apparently homeboy was going up putting stuff in it, and I lit him up, dude. Lit him up. He doesn't know. He's 3. They don't know the power.
It's fascinating.
It's
All right,
fascinating.
maybe wait till they're like 17,
Yeah,
14.
maybe never for either of those kids. But well, thank God, Bo's very responsible. So he came in and ratted him out. And I'm like, you know what? Sometimes you should snitch on your brother.
You never want to be a tattletale, except when your brother is
Could murder
lighting things
everyone
on
in the
fire.
house, yeah.
And then really, you need to be as fast of a tattletale as possible.
There's no dull moments at my home, none whatsoever. It's just never a dull moment.
Maybe we just don't have unattended candles around the house.
It's just one of those things. You light a candle. Maybe it's got to be out of their reach. I don't know. I don't know how my wife loves candles. Whose wives don't like candles? Like I just didn't think he would be putting things in it to try to set on fire. But I guess I was wrong. You learn something new every single day.
Keep the batteries up to date and your smoke detectors, hopefully.
Yes,
okay,
and
good.
I mean, you got to remember when we were kids too. Like, I was a little bit of a pyro, as I think a lot of kids are. Were you not?
Well,
you lit lighters and stuff when you saw
I still
them?
can't even light a lighter.
Oh my God,
I'm very good at it. Now, did I try to light something with a magnifying glass?
Of course you did.
And hold it there forever, and
For
nothing
hours,
ever happened.
nothing happened.
Nothing
Yeah.
ever happened.
Yeah, man. So that was a little nerve-wracking yesterday, but holy cow. So anyway, back to the A.J. Preller. That's actually that's what I'm going to be doing at 11. I'm going to be sitting in my office watching A.J. Preller. And I don't know. I think my main question for him would be, how bad did that suck for you? I had when the game ended, I remember I thought the first thing I remember I walked in and I was like washing some dishes because I was so mad. I was like, had to fill the nervous energy and I was so disappointed. And I was washing dishes and I thought, when does AJ Preller get back to the grind trying to get ready for next season? How long did you take for yourself to get back to, oh my God, I got to do this again? You know, like that's a genuine thing.
Yeah, as much as he'll always say that, he believes in every team.
Right.
They know
the real story.
He knows that this was his best chance to win a World Series.
To this point.
To this point, is the most pieces he's ever had coming together in the best possible way. This was the best chance. So it's got to hurt more than any of these other seasons.
It's got to.
It's got to.
Look, at the end of the day, they've all been disappointing. Every single one of them. You know, in your whole tenure, they've all been disappointing because you didn't win a World Series. So by law, it's disappointing.
I think maybe if I ask one, and I may ask this, is, what, as you look back, what, if anything, was missing from the equation?
That's the thing.
Because I think that's a tough one. Like,
it's very tough.
What was missing from the equation?
I saw somebody in the chat earlier say, "Well, we really got to focus on the offense this offseason." I'm like,
you mean the one that was the best offense in baseball?
Best offense in baseball.
Are you going to hold his feet to the fire?
About the 24 innings, I mean, it's just staggering, and it just makes no sense. And I wish there was something you could point to. It'd be so easy to look at it and say, well, clearly you just didn't have the arms. You did. I mean, I know Joe getting hurt was tough. It threw us it forced Mike Schilt to make an interesting decision, in starting Dylan Cease. Still like the decision. Nope, still no problem with it. Just didn't work out. But I look at it and go, no, like you have as many arms as the Yankees do. You had as many arms as the Dodgers do. Okay, was the offense as prolific as maybe the Dodgers or Yankees are? Probably not. Probably not. Maybe that is something you could focus on, more power or something like that. But they didn't get any of that power from Giancarlo in the regular season. They didn't get any of that power from Kike Hernandez in the regular season. I mean, what do you really point to and say we need to hone in on that?
Honestly, whoever wins the World Series actually probably had more regular season question marks than the Padres.
See, now Kevin's in here saying our offense was bang or bust. No, it was not feast or famine this year. It was not. That's 23. That was 14 runs, 1 run. 12 runs, no runs. I mean, that was feast or famine. These guys could hit this year. So the fact that they didn't
get shut out after the first game of the second half until the last two games of the season.
Yeah, maybe Clayton nails it. Bunting. We're going to work on our bunting. You and Steve and Coronado.
Yeah. I think the questions that I know are not going to be answered, so might as well not even ask them.
How much do you have to spend?
What's the payroll going to be like for next season? What players are you planning to offer arbitration to?
Can you at least frame it in a way that you might get some sort of an answer? Like, you're already, according to the estimates,
I've been trying for years, Paulie. It's a losing proposition.
But going back to what we talked about in our 7 o'clock hour, we're talking about the payroll numbers and the UT estimates that you might have saw over the weekend. It says 198, just under $200 million, but it's really more like 243, and they're already above the luxury tax threshold. So I think that's a more than fair question where you might be able to get something out of him. Like, how does that impact your offseason?
Nope. You will get nothing. That's my prediction. You will get nothing other than mumbled nothings on that question if anyone asks it. No, we'll evaluate as a team where we stand, and we'll have a lot of options that we can look at. This offseason.
Yeah, how active do you plan on being in the free agent market this year?
Different plans and different directions that we may go in this offseason in terms of player acquisition, and we're always looking at different trades and moves that we can make in this offseason, and that will be a big zero answer to that question. I will predict that now. But I think your question, I'd love to hear. How much did that one stay?
Yeah, how much did it hurt?
Compared to all the other disappointments, that one had to be bad.
How long till you get back on the horse? A week? Is it 3 days? Is it 24 hours?
He's already back on his horse.
Oh, no, but after it was over. Yeah. Tough one, man.
All right, Annie and Alston will have that news conference for you coming up at 11 o'clock. Until then, we will talk to you tomorrow at 6. For Paulie Reindl, for Stephen Woods, I'm Ben Higgins. Have a great rest of your Monday from all of us here at 97.3 The Fan. So long, everybody.